And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Rolling up. Roger, roll, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Echo down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? We don't need any more of these.
Good morning, everybody. This is Lon Seidman here with NSF, and if we can get some fives in the chat, would be great to know that we're being heard. And this morning, you're tuning in because we are going to watch the launch of a Falcon Heavy with the NASA Psyche mission on board. And I love me some Falcon Heavy, so this is going to be a fun watch. And as always, we've got some experts in the chat with us today who will be providing us some additional coverage and knowledge that we will all learn from. And first, I want to turn it over to my co-host, Das. Good to chat with you, my friend.
Hey, Lon, how's it going? I don't know about calling me an expert, but I sure like to
Right,
talk
here in
about
DOS.
rockets. I'll be here.
But also out in the field, we have Hagen Warren. How you doing, Hagen?
Yes, I'm good. How are you guys doing? I can.
Oh, go ahead, Hagen. Just lost
I was just gonna say, I cannot believe I'm here right now. I am super excited for this mission. Psyche is such an amazing mission, and we get the added bonus that it's launching on a Falcon Heavy. So it's going to be an awesome launch here today. So excited.
Awesome. Yes, we are definitely excited to see this as well. Have you seen a Falcon Heavy launch in person before? And Hagen, you still with us?
I think he's muted right now, it looks like.
We'll keep going here as we observe the launch here. We are basically looking at the weather right now because earlier today the U.S. Space Force said we were probably going to be about 40 or 50%, and we are just waiting for some confirmation on the weather, and of course we'll start seeing fueling soon. And just so our friends in the control room know, I can't hear DOS through our chat here on the Discord, which is why I was not able to pick up DOS earlier. But I will keep chatting here as we await. Now, this Falcon Heavy actually consists of a couple of seasoned boosters, as you can see here. And we'll see what we're looking at here in a second here in the back channel, just getting DOS back on so I can actually talk to him. So I think my friends on YouTube, we can all hear DOS, but I can't through our back channel chat here. So we do have two seasoned boosters on this particular Falcon Heavy with the center core looking pretty clean here. So we're going to work on getting DOS back in. Hagen, are you able to hear me out in the field?
Yes, I can hear you. The connection's going in and out, but I can hear you right now.
Oh, great. Well, tell us a little bit about the mission and what we can expect here.
Yeah. So Psyche, as I mentioned, it's just an amazing mission. So Psyche is NASA's latest asteroid mission. If you remember, a few years ago, NASA launched its Lucy mission out to study the Trojan asteroids out in Jupiter's orbit. That was the 13th Discovery mission. Psyche is the 14th Discovery.
We may have lost Hagen there again. Wow, it's one of those mornings, folks. We are going to continue here hanging out. At least we got these close-in pad views. All of a sudden, we may get Hagen popping back in.
16 Psyche could have once been the planetary core of a planetary.
There you go. All right. Lon, we got you back?
We're back. We're back.
All
It's
right.
Friday the 13th, DOS. That's why.
It is. Hey, we'll take the bugs now so that the rocket is nice and bug-free. How's that sound?
That's right. we will take one for the team here, but it's good to hear your voice now.
I think they could hear me earlier, so it was like the disembodied DOS talking to the chat, but you weren't hearing me. So I think we are good to go now. Let's pop back in. I'm going to go over and help Hagen out real quick if you tell us a little bit more about what's going on.
Sure. Well, we are presently awaiting the beginning of fueling here on the Falcon Heavy. And one of the things that I love about Falcon Heavy is that it is, at least when you see it there at pad 39A, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the space shuttle, where you've got those two big boosters and a very nice kind of a thick launch vehicle, if you will. So it's fun to see something that large and substantial awaiting launch here. And this mission, as we were hearing from Hagen earlier, is to go visit a mostly metal asteroid. This is a deep space mission that is going to rely on a lot of orbitable mechanics to get to its actual beginning of the work that it's going to do, looking at this, what they believe to be an all-metal asteroid. And it'll be quite a long journey here. So we are in October of 2023. It's not planned to arrive at the Psyche asteroid until 2029. And at the point that it arrives there, it's 2.7 AUs away. So it is quite far out. In fact, we're going to need to use some gravity assistance from Mars, the planet, to get this probe out to that final destination, which is why you need so much energy at the outset here, just to get this this little craft into orbit. There are some great chats on Twitter. A woman named Linda Elkins-Tanton, who's working on the project, has some very detailed tweets about what the post-launch activities are going to be. And one of the things that I find really fascinating about this new craft is that it's going to experiment with optical communications, DOS, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is. We actually had a chance to sit down with Lindy on one of the museum shows with Intrepid, the Astro Live shows we do, and she gave us a ton of good information about the mission. Actually, the PI for Psyche there, the lead for the mission to Psyche, and all the different science instruments. She has been one of the most communicative, let's put it this way, PIs on X that I have seen. She gave us that detailed breakdown of what's happening during the launch, and then how the spacecraft comes online after it actually gets dropped off by the second stage of the Falcon Heavy, and exactly how it needs to de-spin, and exactly how it needs to unfold the solar rays, and it seeks for the sun, and it really is a great thread. You usually don't get a lot of information like that on, I guess, X, Twitter, but she had some really great information there. So anyways, we are continuing to stand by. Looks like the feeds are still working here. But what else do we have going on, Lon?
Well, I wanted to talk to you a little bit, because in looking at this chart, this is one of the things that Lindy posted on that Twitter thread. I don't know if we have that in the back channel here. I can post the link to it. It reminds me a lot of trying to do something in Kerbal Space Program, which I know you're an expert of. Because in looking at this, when people think about going to an asteroid, you think about Star Trek, where Captain Picard says, go here, warp 7, and you go point to point, right?
Yep.
This is not that simple, is it?
It is. You actually have to enter a standard orbit, or a more standard orbit, around the sun. You don't just get to point there and go straight to the asteroid. They do a little bit of a transfer where you just phase yourself, you do the burn at the exact right time, and you coast almost more than halfway around the solar system, right, to get closer to Psyche as they head out that way. So it's more of an orbital ballet than it is a point and go in a direction directly, like you see in all the sci-fi. It's just easier if you don't have to worry about orbits and phasing and stuff for entertainment purposes. But Psyche does have a long road. What was it, almost 6 years before it's going to get there, right?
Absolutely. So it's a long journey, and this is probably just because we have a limit of how much fuel we can get into orbit, right? If we had unlimited ability to bring mass to orbit, you could probably make it a straight shot with some huge engine, but that's just not possible with today's technology, is it?
You certainly decrease the time a lot, right? There would still be a little curve to it because the sun gravity is very influential around our solar system. And you'd have a little bit of a curve, but the more fuel, the more delta V really you can carry with you, the straighter you can go. You can sort of straighten that line out so you go kind of more directly towards it. We get there a lot more quickly, and that's a lot of things that we hear about going to Mars, right? If you can carry more fuel, more delta V, you can get there in shorter time frames. That's a big thing with Starship. If anybody's following the Starship program, who's not following the Starship program, I guess, right? But for now, we have small engines, small amounts of delta V. Just give a little push in the right direction, and then wait for the orbits to, quite technically align years down the road as we coast up towards that target asteroid.
And when it gets there, Hagen, I know you're our expert on this mission. We're not landing on this asteroid or taking samples back, right?
No. Excuse me. No, Psyche is just going to head out and just orbit 16 Psyche. It's going to be this primary science mission for Psyche lasts about 21 months. And during those 21 months, Psyche is going to be moving in and out of 4 different orbits that are labeled from A to D alphabetically. So, orbit A is the highest orbit. It's going to enter that first. Then Psyche is going to move down to orbit B1, is what they're calling it, where it'll do some topography investigations and magnetic field characterizations. Then Psyche's going to move all the way down to orbit D, which is the lowest it'll go when it's orbiting 16 Psyche. And I believe that orbit, if I can remember off the top of my head, is only about 75 kilometers off of the surface of the asteroid. So it's going to be very, very, very close. And then after moving down to orbit D, Psyche's going to move up to orbit C, which is a little bit higher than orbit D. And then to end out the mission, the primary science mission, that 21 months mission, Psyche's going to head back up to orbit B. They're calling that orbit B2, where it'll continue to do some magnetic field characterization, topography investigation, take some awesome pictures of the asteroid surface and such like that.
This is a metal asteroid, they keep saying. So if I were to knock my knuckles against it, it would feel more like metal than rock.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that. The thing about this mission and 16 Psyche is that we really don't know what it looks like. We have a decent idea of what surface positions like, what a surface is like, and things like that. But obviously, we're not really going to know until we get there. Earth-based telescopes can only, look at 16 Psyche so much. Same thing with space telescopes like James Webb. They've actually observed this asteroid with James Webb, but you can't get an extremely detailed image of its surface just from Earth. So whenever Psyche actually gets out to the asteroid, that's whenever we're gonna know, is the surface more, like regolith, like lunar regolith? Is it gonna be, sort of fluffy and like that, or is it gonna be, solid like metal? So that's one of the things that they're gonna be looking at whenever they get out there, and scientists are excited to find out.
I've been reading too that the density of this asteroid is interacting in very interesting ways with some of the neighboring rocks that they're able to observe, and that they feel there's more density there. Is that right? And I think we just lost. Oh, there you go. Sorry, go ahead.
No, what's going on is Hagen's got an AC unit nearby, and so we're trying to get Hagen a new position away from this AC unit. That's where the background fuzz and that sort of stuff is coming from.
Okay.
It's just the environment we're in right there. There's 2 massive HVAC units down on the ground near him, and we're trying to get him a different place. We're just sort of limited where we can set up. So we're working on that problem, y'all, right now. But anyways, well, why
don't we talk, Das, a little bit about our Falcon Heavy mission, a little closer to Earth here. So it looks as though those 2 boosters have launched a few times before. And I think one of the cool things about Falcon Heavy is that you can take, at least for your side boosters, Falcon rockets that have worked independently and make them work together on a Falcon Heavy stack.
Kind of. I mean, you add a little bit more structure in there. You strap one Falcon to 2 more Falcons, and you send it. You said that the 2 sides are used before, and you could tell because they're so dirty. They just have the soot from the previous missions on them. So it's really curious. For the NASA missions, NASA wants some parts of the rocket to be new. Notably, the payload fairing here is nice and clean. Got a little bit of rain and stuff like that on it. Y'all saw the last couple days. But it is pretty much white and shiny, and you compare that with the 2 boosters on the side, and they are there you go. They are decidedly not nice and shiny. I mean, look at the dichotomy there between the 2.
I call it well seasoned.
Well seasoned, nice. I don't know what they would taste like, but I probably wouldn't lick them. You could really see the 2 used boosters. Flight proven is the terminology I should use. Boosters there on the side. In the brand new center core, look at the top, the fairing's nice and clean. The interstage is always new. They don't reuse those, but there you go.
Is this so? This interstage will be lost in the ocean, or are they going to try to retrieve this one? 'Cause I know they've been able to do so on a few Falcon Heavy missions in the past.
The interstage will be lost. The fairing, I believe they are recovering.
And should we see some fun landings of those two side boosters down at landing zone 1 and 2 at Cape Canaveral today?
Yes. That is
All
always
right.
one of the cool things for a Falcon Heavy. We don't just want to throw those away. We do expect to see a double landing here today. So there we go.
So on some channels you get a double rainbow, but here on NSF you get a double landing. How about that?
Double landings across the sky. What does it mean? I'm not going to yell at it, y'all. So
Yeah, we don't want to mess up our friends in the control room today.
I'm going to just yell,
but-
what does it mean?
What does it mean? And one of the things I've noticed was because I love watching these Falcon Heavy launches. I just think it's just an amazing system for especially just it has that space shuttle vibe to me. Just because you have those side boosters that really just look substantial when that thing lifts off. We got 27 engines.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things I've noticed about Falcon Heavy is that on the first test flight, the boosters seem to land almost exactly at the same time, maybe a few seconds apart. Now it looks like they're spaced a little bit more.
Yeah, the first couple ones were almost like overlapping each other, and I don't have official confirmation, but to me it looks like they spaced them out a little bit. I don't know if there was some interaction from the boosters landing and the exhaust hitting the ground or something like that. I mean, the pads are close, but they're not that close. Or if that's just an artifact of the way the separation works. Like, is one slightly down, tucked down a little bit, and the other one's slightly up, so it gets a little bit of a head start, I guess. I don't have official information on exactly why that is, but it is notable. Now one seems to come down, I don't want to say like significantly before. It's not like it lands a minute before. Physics wouldn't like that. But it does land a rocket length. It's like ahead by a rocket length or something like that.
And it looks like we've got a weather update because earlier we were looking at maybe 40% favorable, but now SpaceX is looking more optimistic here at an 85% favorable weather. So this might be a go today. I know SpaceX, even if the odds don't look like they're in their favor, they usually push forward just to see how far they can get. And this launch in particular is not one of these torturous live streams where we have like a 4-hour window. We have, 1 second of a window here, Das?
Yeah, it's an instantaneous window. It either goes or it doesn't go. So it's not the sort of thing where it's like, oh no, it's scrubbed for an hour. We'll have to stand around. Oh no, it's scrubbed for another hour. Or not scrubbed. It pushed. It slipped for an hour. It delayed for an hour. It either goes at that exact time or we come back in the future.
Right. Well, we are about an hour away, or hour and 11 minutes away, I believe, based on what my eyes can see. I'm getting glasses today, Das, so I should soon be able to look at clocks a little better than I could before.
Is that before or after the launch? Like,
yeah, after the launch. So
After
I
launch.
can't see until after. But what are we looking at from a fueling schedule here?
We are still an hour and 10 minutes away. They're going to start, well, let's see if they're going to start polling for the fueling. That's still a ways away here, but I think it may still be another 10, 20 minutes or so when they begin that poll. Hopefully we get it all clear. We don't get that audio anymore. We used to get the SpaceX Mission Control audio, and we could hear the results of that poll largely silent, but we'd usually hear if it was good or not. And once they poll for fueling, we'll start to hopefully see some vapors forming on the side of the rocket, going all the way up to the, well, all the way up to the launch, actually. But the T-minus 20-minute vent, slightly different for Falcon Heavy. Hopefully we see that coming up here in a while.
Let me toss it out to Hagen out in the field. We'll see how you're sounding now. How's the weather look like to you on the ground at the moment?
Yeah, it's hot. That's sort of. The skies are clear. It's beautiful out here. The light breeze occasionally. So yeah, it definitely does not look like 40%, 60%, favorable conditions. It definitely does feel like 85% go in terms of weather. So it's gorgeous out here. The skies above 39A are blue. There's a few wispy clouds there. So it looks like it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful launch.
Excellent. Well, what we've got time for here is to try to get you into a better connection because you're still breaking up a bit. So we will work on getting that going, and we'll hopefully get some more reports out from the field. But the shots that we're seeing on some of our NSF cams here look like a spectacular day, and I hope that this will result in a launch in about an hour. Hey, Dosh, should we say hello to some of our supporters in the chat and take some questions? Would that be a good thing to do right now?
Absolutely. Do you want me to go grab some, or do you got it?
Yeah, we could split duties here. We could say hello to Willow Space, who's a new Capcom member. Meep also became a Capcom member. Corone Almighty. And we also have a few of our regulars here dropping some super chats. Musical Wolves says it's Friday the 13th. With a bit of luck, it launches. I think we've been absorbing a bulk of the technical difficulties today, so we will, again, we're taking one for the team here. We want to see this Falcon Heavy launch, and we'll take as many glitches as possible so that SpaceX doesn't have to, nor NASA, because we want this to be a success.
We're running
Curtis Green
for them.
Yes, that's right. We are the glitch magnet today. Curtis Green gifted 1 Red Team membership. This is one of the fun things about this community, DOS, is that if you hang out long enough, you too will become a member because there's so many generous people in the chat who are contributing to their fellow community members. Curtis Green here upgraded to Launch Director. All right. And John Mon here gifted 1 Red Team membership. I'll put him up on screen there. And Dragan Adamoff became a PadRat member. And we also have Curtis Green, who gifted another Red Team membership there. So we will keep an eye on that. Here's a fun chat here from Ryan with a 14-month milestone. This is a new feature we're able to bring to you all, is to acknowledge milestones for memberships. He's been a Capcom membership for 14 months. What's better than 1 American broomstick, 3 American broomsticks?
Broomstick heavy.
Broomstick Heavy. And, Don, there's a lot of thrust on this Falcon Heavy, isn't there?
There is. I mean, like you said, it's 9 Merlin engines times 3, so you got 27 Merlin engines on the bottom of it. That's what's required to get a spacecraft like Psyche on its way for an interplanetary mission. Honestly, that's something we can mention. Chat may disagree with me. I would say that Psyche here is Falcon Heavy's first actual interplanetary mission, and the Roadster fans are going to come out of the woodwork to yell at me. Honestly, I don't classify the Roadster as an interplanetary mission, right? The Roadster was an inert object after it was released. It wasn't doing anything. It couldn't even communicate after it got to interplanetary space. They had cameras going for just a little while, but those died, right? They didn't go anywhere or do anything. So personally, I don't count the Roadster as an interplanetary mission. It didn't even have a target, really. It was just sort of like yeeting it to see how far it would go into orbit, in a Mars-inspired orbit, right? But this, for Psyche, has to go to a very specific location, and it has to end up at the asteroid. It is an active payload that's going to do science and hopefully inspire people on the all-metal asteroid, potentially the core of a planet that didn't form. That's what a lot of people don't get about Psyche. They think, one hypothesis, we don't know, that's why we're going, but that Psyche may be the core of a planet that didn't form enough, or something else happened to it. So that's why, they say, oh, a metal world, a metal astronaut. Well, a metal astronaut. That's a different stream. Metal asteroid.
There's one on that. There's one in that Roadster. You got the metal astronaut on that.
Exactly. There you go. But they have these hypotheses. We don't know. You've seen 3D renderings. You've seen mock-ups. They did some 3D prints of it, but they don't actually know if that's what Psyche looks like. So we're going to send a spacecraft out there, and we're going to find out. That's how we do science.
And I think, too, what the advantage of this is if that it is indeed a failed planetary body, it's very hard to drill into the Earth to get an idea as to what's in the center. I mean, obviously, we have some ideas as to what's in the center, but here you've got something that you can go visit. You can take close measurements. You can get a feel for, what a planet might have as its core, and it can help us learn a lot about Earth. We're made of the same stuff, so that's one of the advantages of this mission. I would say, from the interplanetary debate, which I'm sure we will have raging now in the chat now that you've kicked it off.
I figured.
One of the most fun rocket launches I have ever seen was the launch of that Roadster. I think the visuals are just so ridiculous it was. And I think what I enjoyed most about it was watching the SpaceX engineers who had worked so hard on that mission to see everything almost go completely perfectly from start to finish, combined with the music and the Roadster just hanging out there orbiting the Earth. So pretty remarkable launch.
we need more rocket launches set to music like that. Like the whole thing with the visual, the camera feeds coming back, and there's like music. We need more of those, honestly.
Yeah, why not do a theme song for every
Yeah.
one of these things, right? Like professional wrestlers have one. Why not missions? I think you're right. I think that might attract more of the public. And you know what's interesting too about that first launch? There we go. There's a
There you
Starman. That's
go.
not a live shot, by the way.
That is not a live shot, right? I
That was
wonder
the
what it
brief
looks like now.
communication. Yeah. But that was just so awesome. I was watching that for hours afterward because I just thought it was so cool.
Oh yeah.
And you know, Das, you know, one of the things I think that drives both of us in our love of space is trying to get other people to know about it. And this was really the first time in a long time, I think, that the public was excited about some kind of space mission.
I think you're right. I mean, you get the hardcore fans that are excited for all sorts of different missions, like, oh, it's going to be so awesome science, or look at these pictures from James Webb, or whatever, right? But Falcon Heavy was the launch that sort of got us back to shuttle levels of excitement, where you have so many people just all across the world that were interested in what that was. And honestly, you got to hand it to SpaceX there. Like, the choreography, the way that they sort of hyped that up, it wasn't just like, we're going to launch a block of metal to see what the payload is. They have the Starman, they have the Don't Panic on the dashboard, the live camera feeds coming from the Roadster. They really did a fantastic job to get us back to the level of excitement you haven't really seen from the public since Shuttle was launching, right?
Absolutely. And you know what I also loved about it was the fact that it obviously it's not the space shuttle, but it had that look of multiple boosters, the same pad. Even that camera angle they had when it lifted off, it just felt like, you know what, we're back finally. Like we've got something that can deliver large payloads to orbit again.
Yep, you got it.
All right. Well, we are still awaiting the fueling of our multi-Falcon rocket here, and that center booster DOS is a lot, I guess, in some ways structurally a lot different than the typical Falcon 9s we see.
Yeah, they do have to add a little bit to it. It's not just strap 3 boosters together with some crazy glue or whatever and then send them to space. They do have some reinforcement points so that you would have a place for the side boosters to actually attach to it. I mean, imagine the force of a Falcon 9 getting the force of 2 other Falcon 9s transferred to it, right? Normally, the body of the rocket is not designed for that, and they do have to make a couple little tweaks to the Falcon Heavy center core to make it able to be connected to the other rockets. So
That bears a lot.
She's like, geez,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, how else do you say it really, though? I guess that is what's happening here.
Yeah, they are connected. And I noticed, too, when we watch some of these prior Falcon Heavy launches, there's like a pin that retracts back from each side of that center core booster. That's obviously not on a regular Falcon 9 booster.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the sideways structures there that goes from the center core out to the sides. And remember, those actually have to separate. It doesn't fly as one big 3-core unit the entire way. The side boosters will peel off. They'll do the boost back. They're going to be coming back here today. And then the center core will continue to go on range. So you think about it, this is something that rockets normally do, but they have to disassemble themselves while they're flying. Like, engines are still running, and it's like, all right, don't need these pieces anymore, let's disconnect them. And instead of just throwing the pieces into the ocean, which is what rockets have usually historically done, SpaceX actually has these set up so that they can fly them back or land them on the drone ship and reuse them. So it's not just blow them off and let them disintegrate. It is cleanly separate them so that they're still in a controllable manner so that they can actually recover them and use them again, like you see the soot on the sides of the boosters.
And that provides the seasoning, because that's often these rockets burn kerosene, so you have essentially carbon that comes off from the burning of those engines on the way back down, which scores the side of the boosters there. Is this a new fairing also, I believe? I think it might be.
Yeah, this is a brand new fairing. NASA has not approved reused fairings or reusable fairings yet. Or yes, they are reusable. They do plan to reuse the fairing, but this fairing sets 2 halves of the clamshell, right? First launch with Psyche inside. Real quick, y'all, in chat, there might have been a little bit of a hiccup there. If you had a connection problem, help us out. Tell the other people in chat just to refresh their page if they're watching on a desktop browser or something like that. Just refresh the stream if you're on phone. Maybe close it and open it again if you were having trouble. If y'all could help us out, type that into chat so people know.
Right, yes. And as we mentioned earlier, we are absorbing all of the Friday the 13th glitches for NASA and SpaceX this morning. So we will keep going. And I think part of what people enjoy watching about NSF is how we recover from. It's very much like, and it was fun actually spending some time with you to see all the behind the scenes that what goes into this. Das, there's a lot of moving parts in this operation, and you keep them all working, and it's very much like managing a space program. I think you might be a good candidate to work some NASA missions in the future.
I mean, I wish we had the space program's budget. Actually, I wish the space program had a larger budget, but we really do accomplish a lot. We don't have a huge multi-million-dollar media company behind us. That's why we can show up and just have fun with the streams instead of like trying to script what we're saying and all this stuff, right? But we are able to accomplish an awful lot, and we're only able to accomplish it because y'all, the viewers, keep showing up. You keep supporting us every different which way that you do. I see there's a ton of things in the queue over here. We'll hit some of those in just a second again. But when we have technical problems, remember, we're still a small team. We do so much. Sometimes, I guess maybe the streams belie exactly how small we are and what we're able to accomplish with the resources that we have. But we have the resources that we do have because y'all keep showing up. So thank you so much for supporting what we do. Lon, you want me to read some of these over here real quick?
Yeah, we got some great ones in here. And also, again, we got a lot of milestones, too, for people that have been with us for a while. So take it away.
Yeah, I'll get some of those. Axie, thank you so much. 34 months. Capcom there says, go Psyche, go. We appreciate the continued support, a name we see all the time over there helping us out. We've also got Gabriel here. That's an 8-month Capcom milestone. Let's go, with lots of T's and lots of O's. Thank you, Gabriel, for the support. Musical Wolves. Does this count as multiple landings? It depends on how you book them, I guess. I mean, technically, from the frame of reference of the Earth, it would be 2 or 3 landings, right? But
that's right.
Are you talking? I mean, I don't see any way you'd slice it that would only be 1 landing.
I guess it all depends on how controlled the process of landing is.
Yes, multiple landings. I think we're going to count it. Thank you so much for the super chat there, Musical Wolves. See your name all the time. John Moun, hopefully, John, I got your name right there. 15 months, Red Team member. Psyched for Psyche, go Falcon Heavy. Gordon Murphy says, 3 years following this beloved channel. Fantastic work, NSF. That's 36 months. Capcom member milestone. Gordon Murphy, thank you so much for the 3 years of being a part of the community here. Ryan gifted 5 Red Team memberships. Remember, that's a thing you can do if you want to help spread some of the support and love of the other two over to other people who are watching. You can actually gift memberships if you're already a membership or a member yourself. So Ryan, thank you so much for sharing the member perks with 5 other people there in chat. And then hand sanitizer Mark II. What?
You can never be too clean.
I guess. Hand sanitizer Mark II, thank you for becoming a Hadrat member. I'm going to hit just a couple more here. We never want the stream to be all about just reading support, but we couldn't do the streams without your support. Pat Lanklass UK. Pat Lanks Lass, I think is the name. 29-month member milestone. Hey, y'all, NSF Red. Oh, that's actually the emoji. Love a double, you bet. Nice. Jelly Bean says, happy 12 months for me. Also, this is still my favorite rocket until Starship lands on the chopsticks. Jelly Bean, thank you so much.
Mine too, by the way.
Hey, we'll take
this is like next to Space Shuttle, because I know Chris B is watching. Space Shuttle's my first love, but Falcon Heavy is a close second.
You can mark that on your bingo cards if you were waiting for the shuttle reference. Johnny Nielsen, thank you so much for the super chat there as well. Those fairings, that's a question. Can they be built in one piece and used as the base for a space station module? It needs a pair of airlocks, though. Interesting, Johnny. We've looked at designs like that in the past, not so much with fairings, but with fuel tanks. If you've remember the wet lab design where they were trying to get one of those shuttle orbiter external tanks into orbit and then turn it into an actual workshop, right? We've thought about it with those. The fairings, however, are not designed that way. They have to necessarily come apart to release the payload. They're a clamshell design with 2 pieces, and they sort of open like, well, a really simple flower that only has 2 petals would probably be the way to say it. Clamshell's better, but they are not sealed. They're not designed to stay that way, and they wouldn't be a good candidate with the huge gaping hole at the bottom. So what you would do there is probably design a module that fits inside of the fairings, or design something that's shaped like a fairing. Like you look at the Crew Dragon, right? Crew Dragon doesn't have a fairing around it. The capsule itself is just pointy enough that it acts in an aerodynamic way for the rest of the rocket. So I don't think that we'd be making a space station out of fairing pieces. Also, we released them long before we're actually towards orbit, so we can recover them. But a good question, and thank you so much for tossing in a little bit of support here. I'm going to speed run just a couple more.
Sure. Yep.
Anonymous, thanks for the 5 red team memberships. Gifting to some other people there. Christine Hickman celebrates 5 months of membership. Nice. And then we got a ton of gifts that came in. Musical Duck did 10. I haven't drank enough coffee this morning, Lon. We've got Astro Adventure, who joined the Pad Rat members. Anonymous did another 5. We've got David Graper that did 10. And we've got, let's see, we're going to get a couple more. JS Web Productions is a Pad Rat. Corvid Moon, I think that has to do with crows. Thank you for becoming a Red Team member. And we've got Thomas Chidwick in the membership program. Stephen Hansen for 5 months. You know something? I've spent enough reading those now. Let's hop back into other questions and stuff, Lon. We'll catch up with some more of that support in just a minute.
We will. And it looks like while we were going through our supporters there, we have a go so far for propellant load. So NASA and SpaceX are in agreement there. And actually, this is what I think what's a little different about this mission versus a lot of the Starlinks that we look at is that there are 2 players here because NASA is the customer who has to, I guess, agree with SpaceX and vice versa before our Falcon Heavy starts going, right?
You got it.
So, but both are in agreement, and they're working pretty well together these days, launching people and cargo together. So that's a good sign. We'll start seeing some venting soon. Then when we get to that big vent, it's like a super big vent here because we've got 3 Falcons all venting together, right?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be coming up here. That is still, where's the clock? 30 plus minutes away. We're under an hour right now, actually, yeah. 53 minutes. Hang on, I gotta look. 21. Look how close the live video feed is to our clock in the corner. Nice.
We're doing pretty good today.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Knock on wood. I'm going to knock on my head here for a second. Anyways, hey,
so look,
if we could do an entire video on what it takes to synchronize the video clock with our on-screen clock, given that we don't get it directly and we have to juggle a bunch of stuff behind the scenes to make it match. Anyways, Lon, go ahead.
It is very complicated. And I tell you what, I've been doing like internet stuff for a long time. I learned a lot in our short time together. So it was a lot of fun watching you guys do what you do. And by the way, if you have questions, if you in the chat, if you go at NASASpaceflight, we have a queue that we can load some in there. And I had a question here, and I think you maybe addressed this a little bit earlier, but perhaps people weren't on yet. This one comes from Clematish in the chat. It said, hey, the fairings are new, but why do they look so used? And is that just weathering?
I mean, it looks so used. Look at the image that's on the screen right now, right? Mm-hmm. You can see the rocket cores that look so huge. Huge. I mean, they're big too. And then compare that to the fairing at the top. The fairing does end up outside on occasion. It does get humidity. It gets that sort of stuff. They had to transport it from one place to another, et cetera, et cetera. So I think some people saw some streaks, like just rain streaks and stuff like that on it and said, oh, it looks so used. But now that you get it right there next to those 2 cores, you can tell that it is a pretty shiny way. Also, I think I just saw a little wisp of venting coming from the strong back there. I don't know if that was a bird flying behind it or a wisp of venting, but I'm going to keep watching right there near the side nose cones. I thought I saw something. Maybe I didn't. Help me out, chat.
We'll see. And I'm sure we'll be seeing some more serious venting too, as we've got now some go for propellant load. And I think we were about 4 minutes out a few minutes ago, so we are getting there. So. Right, so we're going to keep an eye on the fueling process here as things load up, and we will begin fueling the rocket. And I had a question in the chat a little bit earlier about the weather from Matt's collection here, and the weather actually went from 40% favorable to 85% favorable on the last bit of news that we heard. And this was from SpaceX, not from the Space Force. But if you look outside there, the weather's looking pretty good. Of course, weather is more than just the weather on the ground. We also have to think about the upper level winds and some of the other factors that they're keeping an eye on here. But the weather certainly was not perfect for today, but it is less imperfect than it was earlier. So we are right now in a pretty favorable place. This mission does have a immediate launch window, which means that if all of the conditions aren't right for the T0 point, we won't be able to launch today because the orbital mechanics on this mission are so complex that it has to launch at the time of T0. And if it's unable to do so, then they're going to have to push the launch back. And as you can see here, we're about 50 minutes away from that T0 mark. So we'll keep an eye on the weather. It is looking better than we thought it was looking last night. And that is why SpaceX and NASA have agreed to go to start loading propellant. This costs money to have this rocket sitting with this payload not launching. So this is why NASA and SpaceX always want to get things off the ground if they can do so safely. And that is where we're going. Little update here. NASA is confirming what SpaceX said the other day, that if they load the Falcon Heavy propellant and scrub, then they load it again the next day and scrub, then it's 5 days until the next opportunity. So we've got today, where we are loading propellant. If they don't go today, they can do it the next day. But if they have to scrub, then they need a couple of days to reset. So we are looking at hopefully a launch here. It seems like they feel like they've got enough of a chance to take the chance of propellant loading there.
Yeah, Lon, every time you do that, like every time you tank up the rocket, you have some losses, right?
Mhm.
They're cryogenic propellants, and as they're sitting there, they don't just want to be a liquid at Florida coast temperatures and pressures, right? So they actually lose some. You'll see it through the venting. You'll see some different areas where they maybe try to recapture some of it, but there are losses, right? And the pad can only hold so much. It's a consumable. They can only hold so much of the propellant's consumables that they need to do the mission. So every time they tank it up, they lose some, and they can tank up their rocket basically twice before the amount of time or the amount of loss that they get means that they have to spend more time replenishing the propellant farm before they can go again. So they could have an attempt today. If it doesn't go, they could have an attempt tomorrow, the next day. And if they don't go in those two attempts, it's 5 days to get back to a state where they can try again if they don't get off the pad in one of those two initial attempts.
So that is why we are hopefully going to see this launch today, because certainly things run over budget. And this is also kind of given SpaceX a bit of a delay on their Starlink launches, right? Because we've been keeping an eye on a upcoming Starlink launch. It's been kind of getting pushed back along with this one.
Oh yeah, it's an interesting situation out there. I mean, we have two different pads. We've got 39A that we can see on the screen right now, but there's also Slick 40 over on the Space Coast side, right? The Space Coast, Space Force side. And there's a little bit of a thing. I mean, we've got the Starlink that's waiting. NASA has a very important mission here on 39A, and it seems that NASA was a little bit concerned how the mission on 39A could be affected if something goes wrong with the one on Pad 40. So they wanted a little bit of a lead time, I guess, a little gap between the time that they try to launch their mission and a mission launches right before it from another pad. I don't know if it's all about the worst case scenario where some close to pad anomaly would happen with a loss of the vehicle, an explosion or something like that that would affect the nearby pads. But NASA did not want Starlink to launch the day before, right? Even though it's from a different pad that's a significant distance away. They just didn't want that. They wanted that buffer in front of their big important mission here on 39A. And so Starlink has sort of been getting kicked around like a soccer ball that nobody wants. Wait, am I supposed to say football? I guess I could have said football and nobody knew. Nobody would have known the difference. But NASA did require that lead time. They wouldn't let it launch right beforehand, even if the range could support it. So Starlink has sort of been just getting punted. Put it that way.
And I have a feeling too that they would like to have the SpaceX team kind of focused in on their mission, given the cost, and you know these probes like Psyche are one-offs, right? There's only one of them, so you got to be very, very careful and very, very risk averse before you send one of these things off into orbit.
You got it.
And can we take a few more questions from the super chats here?
Absolutely.
All right, we have a lot. We have one super chat here from a 29-month member here. What monitor should I buy? Well, that's not the right stream for that. You can come to the other one. We'll talk about that later.
It's a different YouTube channel over on your tech reviews channel.
Wrong show. Dean, though, has some coffee for you, which I think you might need more of, given all the things you're juggling in the back there. So I got to give you a lot of credit, Doss. You're able to multitask better than anyone else I know.
My biggest problem, Lon, is sometimes like you're saying stuff while I'm working on something else, and then I hop in and I'm like, actually, repeat what Lon just said. So I apologize if sometimes I repeat what you literally just told him, and you're like, yeah, thanks, Doss, whatever.
No, you haven't. No, your subconscious is working quite well this morning, so you have not yet repeated anything. And if so, then I'm focused on something else, and I didn't hear it either. We do have a $50 super chat here from Bidford. Good morning to my favorite nerd channel, NSF. Introduce the new voices, go heavy. So yeah, for those of you who, so I'm the new guy, Lon Seidman. I come in here every couple of weeks or so, maybe sometimes every couple of days, depending on where the need is. So it's always been fun, and I've been a long time space enthusiast from my very young years. My father actually worked on the Apollo project. He worked on the life support battery for the EVA suits.
No
at a
kidding.
company in Connecticut called Yardney Electric, and yeah, it was pretty cool. I actually got to see one of those suits at our local Air and Space Museum, and it was fun to see where my dad's work had contributed. So that was pretty cool. So he really instilled in me a love of the space program, and I've been to ASC a number of times, more times than I can count. It's my happy place. So it's fun to be part of this team, and I've learned a lot, by the way, just meeting all of the team members here. And I think between all of the NSF team, DOS, I think this crew could probably build a pretty formidable rocket. And maybe we should try that.
Maybe it's some scale. I've always wanted to like go out to one of the student rocket launch competitions and launch a live stream rocket, right? That has like multiple live feeds coming off of it and live stream. Hey, that's on my list. It's just in our copious free time. When do we have time for that project? If there are any university student teams out there that want to partner with NASA Spaceflight to launch a live stream rocket, look us up. Like, we don't hide for a living. You know how to find us. You can email us, business@nasaspaceflight.com, where we're all on Twitter, X, etc., etc. I would love to hear from a team that wanted to handle the rocket side and we handled the live stream side. That'd be really fun.
Be totally awesome, and we have so much knowledge in this. I think we could really develop a very reliable launch system with all the team members' knowledge that we have here. So that'd be kind of fun. Hey, Alex is telling us in the back channel here that LOX load has begun on Falcon Heavy's 3 boosters. That is the liquid oxygen. So we should start seeing some frost around the boosters in about 3 to 4 minutes. And that frost will rise up as the tank fills up with that liquid oxygen. Yeah. And that, of course, is half of what the rocket needs for its fuel, right? That's the oxidizer. And then the kerosene rocket fuel is the rocket fuel part. So that is underway here, so we'll keep an eye on that.
It's interesting, Lon, like when the frost actually starts to come up, it looks like the rocket gets a little cleaner, right? Because the frost is clean and white, and it covers up the soot in some areas, and so it's like, the SpaceX magical rocket clean thing. It's like those coffee mugs you pour stuff into, and the coffee mug changes color, right?
Yeah, right.
This is opposite, though. It gets colder, so anyway. It
gets colder, right, exactly. And you get some ice cubes out of the deal also. So hey, I think Hagen is back with us. Let's give it another go and see if we've resolved some of the connectivity issues down there. Hagen, are you out in the field? How are things looking?
How do I sound? Am I back? Am I good?
You're good.
I have moved all over the place out here. And according to a few people in the back channel, I sound good now. So hopefully it's translating to stream.
It is sounding spectacular. You sound like you're in the next room now, even though you're thousands of miles away. So, so now that we've got you, you are the expert on this mission. So, you've been following the team. The team has actually been very communicative on X, I guess formerly Twitter, about all the things that are going into this. What are you most excited about here as someone who's been following this?
Oh man, that's for me personally, I think, as somebody who has a deep love for science and planetary science and such, I think just going out there and learning more about this asteroid, which could have been a planetary core, and trying to verify these theories of planetary formation, that's really what I'm most excited for. Because, like I said, I followed planetary science research for years now, and planetary science is something that I love a lot. And so being able to have a mission like this that's going to go out there and try to verify some of the planetary formation theories that we have it's going to be amazing. We're going to learn so much, and it's going to help advance planetary science research to just a whole new level.
And as we are getting closer to that research, it looks as though the frost is beginning to appear on the rocket, which means that we've got some fueling going on here, which means you're one step closer to having those answers. And one of the things we were talking about when you were It's very exciting. And you know, the best part about this, you're excited for the mission, and you're excited because you're going to see an awesome, spectacular launch of a Falcon Heavy, which is a little bit more of a rare event
The funny
because
thing about that is that like I have been so excited about this mission that I keep on forgetting that I'm like about to witness a Falcon Heavy launch. Like it's something that I just keep on forgetting. So it's been a whole experience. I'm so excited. These next like 40 minutes or so is going to be insane.
oh, you're gonna love it. It's the most spectacular thing to see in person because it's like it's a twofer because you get the launch and then you get the landing. So there's a lot of fun things that you will witness and experience throughout here, especially on the landing side. One of the cool things that I experienced in the Falcon Heavy launch that I witnessed was the fact that when the boosters came back down, you get that sonic boom. But the sonic boom will essentially bounce off the side of the VAB. So you're going to hear this metallic echo as those boosters are coming down. So just take it all in because it's a lot of fun to
Max
see
and
this.
Sawyer here have been giving me the rundown on everything that's going to happen during this, like minute by minute. What's going to happen 2 minutes after liftoff? What's going to happen whenever the landing burns start? They've been giving me the rundown and preparing me for what's about to happen.
Right. And this mission is going to take a while, though, to get to the asteroid. So what does the team do over the next, 3 years, 4 years as it's on its way?
Yeah, great question. So, it's going to take a while to get out to 16 Psyche. It's going to take about around almost 6 years, around 5 years, 10 months to get all the way out there between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter and that asteroid belt. During that time, they're going to just really be performing calibration of the spacecraft. Immediately following launch, they're going to go ahead and activate some of the instruments. I asked that question actually the other day in a press conference, asking them, how soon after launch they're going to activate these instruments. And actually, they're going to immediately start deploying those solar panels. They're going to immediately turn on the magnometer and stuff like that. And they're just going to immediately begin doing those calibrations. And then during that six-ish year cruise phase, they're just really going to be performing calibration experiments with the instruments, ensuring that they're ready to go. One of the most important points during this cruise phase is whenever Psyche actually performs a gravity assist at Mars. This is going to happen in 2026. And during that gravity assist, they're essentially going to be using Mars as almost like a test dummy and use, Mars's surface, magnetic field, such like that, to make sure that these instruments are calibrated and fully ready to go for whenever they arrive at Psyche 3 years after that flyby.
They have some time to to really get everything dialed in, right? It's kind of there's some advantages perhaps to the travel time that it takes. One of the things that fascinated me most about this mission is that they're going to be experimenting with optical transmissions. I don't believe we've had that long of a distance of an optical transmission test before, have we?
Hey, sorry, you cut out there for a second. Can you repeat?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that I was most fascinated about with this mission is that they're experimenting with optical communication technologies.
Yes.
Typically, we've relied on good old-fashioned radio waves to communicate, but often you can't get a lot of bandwidth out of the very weak signals. So do you have any more about what they're going to be doing in relation to optical communications?
Yeah, so they're going to be basically on Psyche, they're testing out this experiment called the Deep Space Optical Communications experiment, which is essentially a laser communications experiment. So what they're going to be doing is trying to transmit data and receive data to and from the spacecraft by using lasers. Psyche on the spacecraft, there's a laser transmitter. And from Earth, they're going to shoot lasers at Psyche with special information in them. And Psyche's going to receive that information, process it, and then if they need to send a response, Psyche will beam a laser back, and then, we're going to see if we can get that same information back and such. So it's a really neat experiment. It's going to, if it works and we begin implementing, laser communications experiments on other spacecraft and stuff, and eventually move on to just using laser communication, then we could see an increase in performance and efficiency of up to 10 to 100 times over, normal communication systems like we've been using, like with radio waves and such like that. So another big experiment, in addition to the amazing planetary science research and everything that this mission is going to do, it's also, helping out with future spacecraft design. It's going to tell us, provide us with insight into, new forms of communication that we can use to talk to spacecrafts that are super far out in the solar system. If that Uranus orbiter or that Uranus flyby mission that was discussed in the decadal survey, if that ends up happening, they'll likely want to use laser communication on that because it's going to be super duper far away and it'll take forever to communicate with that spacecraft using radio waves. So yeah, an awesome experiment. And another thing they're going to be doing is, as I mentioned there, with the instruments and starting up immediately after launch. That's what they're going to be doing with this laser experiment. Pretty much from the entire first year of the mission, they're going to be performing tons of different experiments with this laser system, and all the way up to that Mars flyby. They're going to be testing it out at Mars and such like that. So yeah, really exciting stuff on that end.
It's awesome, and we're seeing some really cool imagery right now. It looks like from a helicopter or a drone of the Falcon Heavy getting fueled up here. I see the frost rising, which is always a good sign. So we are going to keep an eye on the fueling process as we continue to chat here. Yeah, one of the things that it's in these NASA missions. There's always a balance between science and engineering. So it looks like the engineers are going to have a lot of fun things to explore and learn during that long cruise phase out to Psyche. And back to the optical communications again, one of the things that we've been reading about is just how oversaturated, if you will, the deep space network that NASA operates to listen to all these spacecrafts has become, because these missions are more frequent. Certainly the cost of launching these missions has gone down considerably thanks to SpaceX and some of the competition that's come into play. So optics really will help probably reduce some of the burden that the deep space network is under, because they only have so much radio bandwidth, but you could probably better manage the optical communications.
Yeah, definitely. Like you mentioned, there are so many missions right now, and the DSN is basically becoming just overwhelmed with how many signals it has to transmit and receive and such like that. So yeah, like you mentioned, another major benefit to introducing this new form of communication with these spacecraft is that you can take some of the load off of the DSN and help it prioritize those bigger missions like James Webb and New Horizons and stuff like that, and maybe move laser communications experiments and systems like that to maybe smaller missions like CubeSats and stuff like that don't take as much priority as these massive flagship missions.
That's right. Well, we've got some updates here. So there is a recreational boat that is not in the danger area, but very close. And so the range is going to try to make sure that you don't get into the danger zone, because that would certainly wipe out this launch attempt here. So they're going to be working on that. I remember something similar happening with the STS-133 launch many years ago, where there was some boats traveling into the danger zone. We also heard that Stage 2 RP-1 load has begun. And the major event that will be the next major event is going to be the start of the chill down of the Strongback liquid oxygen lines to the second stage. That's going to be at T-minus 22 and 20 seconds. And that will be our Falcon Heavy super vent, which we always like to look for here. So a few more minutes out from that. And Das, are you still with us? Are you knocking out the glitches there?
Oh, I am here. I'm doing the back end clicking and light blinking that is required to make things happen. But I'm here, Lon.
Right, great. I just want to make sure you're still doing okay over there, and good to hear that all systems are go on the NSF side. Hey, we have a $100 tip from Rick, aka Methane Man. There's no methane on this rocket, but we certainly appreciate your generous support of the channel. And we certainly we do enjoy or definitely appreciate the assistance here, given all the moving parts that keep these streams going for all of you.
That's
take a few more
too, Lon.
Yes,
that's a tip directly to tips.nasaspaceflight.com. We have options for people to support us. I mean, different people like to do different things. The super chats are away, the membership's away, but if you want to directly support us, nobody in the middle, you can go to tips.nasaspaceflight.com and send money directly to us. So, Rick, thank you so much for that $100 tip there via our tips. It was confusing. It's like, oh, well, you're a news agency. Isn't a tip like somebody saying, like, oh, Falcon Heavy is going to launch today? Like, not that type of tip, like a monetary tip. Either way, Rick, thank you so much for the support. Sorry, Lon.
That's okay. Hey, by the way, we have a volunteer here, Matrix, who's on a student rocket team that would love to partner with NSF. So reach out, and we'll be in touch, all right?
You get in touch with us, Matrix. There's lots of different ways to get in touch with us. But email, send us a DM on X, whichever. If you're in the member Discord, talk to us down there. Would love to chat.
Here's a super chat question that I am sure that Hagen might be able to help us with. Asteroid Psyche probably has a lot of gold, platinum, palladium, rhodium, osium, and ruthenium. It sounds like expensive stuff. Also a lot of nickel, iron. Do they know exactly what composes Psyche, or are they guessing based on observation at this point?
Yeah, this is an awesome question. And it's something that they're really going to have to try and figure out when we get there. We have we have a decent idea of what Psyche is made up of. And that's just based off of Earth-based, observations that we've made using telescopes here on Earth and telescopes up in space. But we won't exactly know until we get there. And that's, that's what many of Psyche's instruments here are, going to be used for. They're going to be used to, really, dig in deep into this asteroid and figure out what's there. And Lon, I've been in and out. Have y'all gone over the instruments yet?
I don't believe we've gone over the instruments yet.
Okay, cool.
Funny
I can do that.
Funny you should ask. Tell us about the instruments real quick, Hagen. Chat. Pay
Yeah.
attention.
I gotcha. So in total, Psyche is going to be carrying 4 instruments with it, 216 Psyche. In total, these 4 instruments weigh about 30 kilograms. The first instrument is a multispectral imager that's going to help Psyche take, up close and extremely high resolution images of Psyche's surface, 16 Psyche surface, and the environment surrounding it. And because it's multispectral, they can put on different filters in front of this imager to separate the metallic and silicate compounds on the surface of the asteroid. The next instrument Psyche is carrying with it is a gamma ray and neutron spectrometer. What it will do is that it's going to map and analyze the entirety of Psyche's elemental composition on its surface. So that goes into there, what we were just talking about, what's its surface made up of? This instrument is going to help us find out exactly what's happening there. Alongside that is the magnetometer, which is going to, measure, analyze, investigate, and really just figure out more about what Psyche's magnetic field is like. Since Psyche is thought to have once been a planetary core, it could have a remnant magnetic field left over. And so if that is in fact true, then this instrument is going to really help us analyze, investigate, and get a really good idea of what an asteroid's magnetic field looks like. And then the fourth and final instrument, which is probably my favorite, I don't know, all these instruments are amazing. It's the X-band gravity science investigation. So what it is this is an instrument that's going to use the spacecraft's X-band radio telecommunications system, and it's just going to measure the asteroid's gravitational field. And by doing that, it's going to be able to specifically go in and investigate what Psyche's interior structure is like. What makes up the inside of this asteroid? What does it look like on the inside? So that's what this instrument's going to really allow us to do.
Awesome. And we're gonna nerd out on some gravitational discussions in a minute, but I do want to acknowledge a $50 super chat from Launch Pins, and I'm gonna now butcher this word because I am from New England and my parents are from Brooklyn. So here we go. Love ya all's streams. Thank you for doing this and on YouTube. Go Psyche. And I know Das loves it when I ya all.
Ya all, really?
And hey, you know what, folks? So thank you, Launch Pins, for your support of our efforts here. And we have, Das, a little, as we're waiting for the big vent, we have a little trivia contest that everyone can participate in and benefit from, right? So why don't you tell us about that, and let's get some trivia going.
Yeah, we're actually trying something new here. We don't honestly often do this, but we're going to have a little bit of trivia. We have a couple trivia questions for you, and the winner of trivia will get a little bit something in the shop, a discount in the shop. But let's see what we've got for our Psyche Falcon Heavy trivia. Hopefully you were just paying attention, because Psyche needs to do science, chat. How many instruments does Psyche have aboard? Look, it's even multiple choice. We made it easy for you. Is it A, 1, B, 2, I feel like I don't even need to read these, they're pretty straightforward, C, 3, or D, 4? I'm going to give you just a second in chat to provide some responses. But in chat, how many instruments does Psyche have to do its science? Primary instruments. A lot of instruments on a spacecraft, but primary, so what? Okay, I guess we're showing the answer. All right, cool, 4. Wasn't prepared for that, but the answer's 4. How many of you got that right in chat? I don't know. Hey, this is the first time we've done this. We're making it up as we go. Patrick, give me question number 2, please. Psyche has a long journey ahead. It'll reach Psyche, the spacecraft, has a long journey ahead. It will reach Psyche, the asteroid, on August of what year? Choices are A, 2027, B, 2028, C, 2029, or D, 2030. Chat, lock in your responses in chat.
We need to nice. Play some copyright safe music here.
There you go, like an improvisation of the Jeopardy music or something, right?
That's right. That's right. We'll have to come up with that for the next one.
I don't actually know how much time we should give them. Maybe in the future we can have a little countdown timer and put like 15 seconds on the clock or something. But Patrick, let's highlight an answer here. What year will Psyche reach August, or will Psyche reach August? It's C, 2029. 6 years from now, as it coasts on its very efficient transfer on the way out there. How many questions do we have? I think we have one more question, don't we? Chat, and tell us in chat, is this like terrible? Like seriously, DOS, this is a terrible idea. Why did you do this? What's our last question here? Falcon Heavy has 2 side cores. All right, okay, we see that. The 2 dirty side cores on the side. Flight proven. They are B1064 and what other booster? What is the other booster on the other side of Falcon Heavy? Not the central core. The other side core. 1063, 1019, 1079, or 1065? We already did the music thing. We did a countdown clock thing. Thank you, Lon.
Yeah, that's about the best I can do.
So which one of this? Let's see which one it is, y'all. We don't want to spend too much time on it. It is D, 1065, B1065. So let me do a quick tabulation in chat real quick and figure out who won. Oh, look, it's everybody. Everybody
wins
chat.
here at NSF.
We've actually prepared a discount code for the shop for all of our Falcon Heavy merchandise. We've got hoodies and mugs and t-shirts and all sorts of stuff. I think we have like mats and stuff. There's some prints as well from past launches. But if you go to the shop and you enter in that discount code, the answer that we just had there in chat, during checkout, it'll actually give you a 10% discount on all the Falcon Heavy merch in the store. Now, give me some honest feedback here. Y'all knew I was just going to give the discount to everybody. How are we going to keep track of who won in chat? Like what? Who answered first the most number of times? I don't know how that would work. But is it totally cheesy, or is that okay that we do that and offer up the discount code for the shop with some fun little trivia? Does it need to be harder, maybe? Maybe the trivia needs to be harder. Lon, how do you think that went?
I think that went great. You know what? Because we're all about, look, we're about covering these launches and having fun, but we're also about learning together, right? I've certainly learned a lot in the past couple of months that I've been working with you all, or y'all. Is that how it goes?
Y'all is good. Yeah.
And you know, I think it's great for everyone to learn together. And I think the more that our audience learns, the more we're going to be on our toes here. That's for sure. So
you got it.
And I'll tell you what, there's some great merchandise in that store. We got all that high resolution embroidery of patches. I mean, it's great. So I've often said to, right, what I do at night is I leave the NSF store on my wife's laptop at night as we're getting closer to the holidays, right? Clicking me a couple of space things.
The subtle
really
hints.
hard to shop for. Yes, exactly. I mean, how hard? I mean, we are impossible to shop for, aren't we? So.
Well, people just send you tech stuff, Lon. Like, you have more tech stuff than you know what to do with. How could anybody possibly buy you a tech gadget that you could possibly not already have 3 copies of, right?
Hey, I see the big vent.
Hey!
The mega vent.
Look at that.
That is a good sign that we are getting closer to launch time here.
I like this shot, the helicopter revolving around the launch pad shot. You can see that's coming off the transport director, the TE there, the backside of it. What they're doing is they're emptying out a lot of these lines here, and that signals the phase, or the start of another phase here as they prepare for launch. But coming up on just about 20 minutes, 21 minutes, 45 seconds right now, before Falcon Heavy has a go at lofting Psyche on its way to, well, Psyche.
All right. Always a good sign to see that. And what's that looking like from where you are seated, Hagen, right now? You're seeing this live.
Oh man, it's awesome.
Getting real now, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh. I'm probably gonna begin to probably just disconnect from everything right now. But no, it's I can see the big vent. It's amazing. I keep on looking for the helicopter. I can't really see it, or whenever we just saw that shot there of it going around. But no, I'm so excited. Yeah, it's awesome.
And before we jumped over to our trivia questions here, I know that you were talking a little bit about some of the gravitational features of the asteroid. One of the things that I learned recently was that the moon's gravity is a bit uneven, given that some parts are more dense than others. Is that something that we need to look at Psyche? Is maybe some parts of the asteroid are a little denser, or maybe have a stronger pull than other parts?
Yeah. So Yeah, that's something that they're going to go out there and look at. If Psyche was once a planetary core and it followed, and whenever the planet was forming around it, if it formed that way, then one of the theories is that material just keeps on clumping together until you essentially just have a planet. That's one of these theories. And if that is true, whenever scientists go out there and look at Psyche, if there are differences in density in that surface, then maybe that could help prove that theory that this planet that 16 Psyche could have once been a part of was formed by constant collisions between material, and they slowly just built up and up and up and up until it was a planet, and then its surface got blown off by those same collisions. And one of the really cool ways that they're going to be, sort of looking at and measuring the density of Psyche's surface is actually its gravity, because obviously, in physics and such, the denser an object is, the greater its gravity will be. So, if there's a stronger gravitational pull at one part of Psyche, whenever Psyche's in orbit around 16 Psyche and the gravity is stronger there, then that means that portion of the asteroid right there is denser than maybe another part where it's less. So, that's something that they're going to be going out there and looking at using that X-band gravitational investigation instrument I was just talking about.
Amazing how much we're going to learn on this mission. And another thing we neglected to tell all of you in announcing this discount is that we have a discount code, DOS, right, for the trivia contest?
Well, some people were confused. I sort of jumped over it really quickly, but for the discount, right, we put the discount code. You enter in B1065. It was the answer to the final question there. But please, Patrick, don't show your credit card number. There you go. You see right there where it says discount code or gift card? If you type in B1065 and hit apply, it'll give you 10% off. There you go. It actually did the math and everything. Of whatever Falcon Heavy merch. It's only for the Falcon Heavy merch with the Falcon Heavy logo on it. You can buy other stuff, but the discount will just calculate against those. And that is how you actually use the discount code. I apologize. We probably should have had something on the screen that said that, but that is the discount code and how to use it into the shop. Back to the rocket.
Right. Hey, back to the rockets. We were talking earlier about how much different this rocket was going to look and maybe look a little cleaner. Now it's looking very cloudy, DOS. It's all the humidity in the air, right?
It is. Luckily, these clouds are low to the ground. The vapor is sort of gathering around the rocket. It'll fly out of those. If it does take off, it'll clear those pretty quickly. There is some sky vapor above it, though. In the background of the shot, you can see there's a little bit of cloud cover up there.
Yeah.
Now, the cloud cover itself necessarily doesn't mean that they can't launch. Rockets can punch through clouds. It comes down to electrical fields and thunderheads and that sort of stuff, moisture in the cloud and that sort of thing. But visibility is not generally something that would stop the rocket from launching. The rocket knows where it's going. It doesn't need to see itself as it goes. So hopefully we get a hole in the clouds. Hopefully we get some perspectives that don't have that clouds above it. It looks like from some angles, it's a little bit of blue sky. From angles like this one, it looks like it's a little cloudy up there. But
this was the angle that had a lot of blue sky in it earlier, and now it's not as significant. But as you mentioned, the rocket doesn't actually need to see where it's going. I can recall STS-134 and 135 going up in some very dense low-level clouds, and seeing the space shuttle for about, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and then it was gone. So we'll see how things go here. We haven't had an update on the weather yet, but we do know that Stage 2 LOX load has started. So SpaceX and NASA are proceeding ahead with the count. So at least at the moment, it doesn't appear as though they're going to throw caution to the wind on the weather. And I suppose the weather really only needs to be perfect at the immediate launch window at T0, right?
Yep, you got it. It's that instantaneous window. It either goes right then or it does not go today. And right then is 16 minutes and 22 seconds away.
And we'll keep an eye out here as the countdown progresses, but things seem to be going on schedule. SpaceX is really, obviously they launch so often. They know now the Falcon system so well. I don't want to say, we never want to say things are routine in spaceflight, but they certainly have this down to a pretty predictable cycle here, don't they?
A science. You could actually say they have it down to a rocket science, Lon. Hey.
There's one for the pun jar.
Sorry. I apologize. Actually, rocket science isn't hard. It's the rocket engineering that's hard.
Right.
What?
And rockets.
Go ahead, Lon.
Rocket science involves a lot of plumbing as well. So that is part of the game. Hey, Hagen, when we launch Psyche here, I was reading something about how they're using the solar panels to determine whether or not the spacecraft is rotating or not. That was an interesting tweet that we saw from Lindy earlier.
Ah, yes.
You have anything more on the immediate things that will happen once that fairing is off and it's deployed?
Yeah. So, that is one thing that they're going to be doing immediately following payload deploy after Psyche, after that second stage deploys Psyche onto that trajectory into that heliocentric orbit. One of the first things they're going to have to do is open up their solar panels, these massive solar panels on the spacecraft, because obviously they immediately need to get power to the spacecraft so they can begin communicating with the spacecraft and ensuring that everything is fine, that it's okay after the launch and stuff like that. And yeah, one of the things they're going to be doing is checking its rotation using these solar panels and such. As I mentioned earlier, another thing that they're going to be doing immediately following launch is they're going to begin powering on some of these instruments. So the magnetometer and stuff, they're going to be immediately begin turning that on and things like that, and also just ensuring that the other instruments are okay and that they're doing fine. So yeah.
Yeah, we're actually looking at, we got that awesome tweet from Lindy Elkins-Tanton, the principal investigator. They cannot deploy the solar panels until they're sure that the spacecraft's rate of spin or rotating is low enough. So the first thing that they do after detaching from the top of the second stage is they activate some sensors, the Miniature Inertial Measurement Unit, MIMU, to see how quickly or if the spacecraft is rotating. Because think about it, you don't want to open up the solar arrays if the spacecraft has an unintended rotation and potentially damage them or get them locked or put torques on them that you don't want. So they can't actually put the solar arrays out until they're sure of the rate of rotation. And that's one of the things where the lift vehicle helps or hurts the life of the spacecraft, like the operation of the spacecraft, even after it's released. So when it's released, it could be a little uneven. It could give it a little flip or something off the top of the second stage. And if it does that and it puts an unintended or a higher than expected rotation on the spacecraft, that could cause the spacecraft to have to change what it does. So the spacecraft's first thing is going to be like, all right, I'm released. Am I spinning? How fast am I spinning? If I'm spinning too much, I need to slow myself down to make it safe for me to deploy those solar panels because, like Hayden said, it's critical that they start getting power for the spacecraft, and that's what the solar panels are for. So the things that it does after launch, it's such an interesting bit of data on exactly what the spacecraft has to do in terms of figuring out its current situation. Can I deploy this? All right, now I'm spinning, but very slowly. My antenna's not pointed at Earth yet, but it might sweep past Earth. And so we might hear it on occasion, then it goes away. Oh no, we lost the signal, but it's just because the spacecraft is rotating, and it rotates and the antenna sweeps past again. There's an entire checklist of things that they go through right there after spacecraft stuff. Massive thanks to Lindy for putting that information out there for us so that we could know that it's not just about the launch. That's when the work starts for the Psyche team after they release it from the Falcon Heavy.
And I can't even imagine, Hagen, if the team has to just kind of sit back and wait for the launch process to complete before they have control of their spacecraft, right? I mean, it's got to be pretty nerve-wracking for them.
Yeah, definitely.
It could be almost 3 hours after liftoff, and they may get intermittent signals between Psyche and the ground stations during those 3 hours as the spacecraft rolls and gets control of itself, and the antenna sweeps over the Earth, and then it's out of alignment again before it actually gets that lock. The most interesting thing for me is the end result when everything's cool is that the spacecraft puts itself into safe mode, and it's like, all right, everything's under control, everything's out. I'm gonna hang out and wait for further instructions.
And we are just about 11 minutes and 25 seconds away from a T0 mark. And again, can you maybe talk a little bit about the fact that we have to launch right at that mark, not a second later? Why is that?
Yeah, orbital mechanics. So the way that, and I know Doss knows a lot about this, so I'll let him go into it a bit too. Essentially, Psyche has a specific window in which it has to launch. That window is from October 5th to October 25th. So they have a 20-day window where Psyche can launch. And that's because Earth and 16 Psyche, where it is, they're sort of in this alignment to where Psyche can launch on that 6-year-long trajectory it's going to take out to the asteroid they're in that alignment to ensure that they can take that trajectory out there. It's not the most efficient trajectory in the world. Last year, whenever Psyche was originally supposed to launch last year, that was a more efficient trajectory that it could have taken out there. But still, as of right, it's a lot more efficient to launch now than it would be to launch, say, in January, whenever the asteroid and Earth and everything is just out of alignment. So you want to ensure that Earth and the asteroid are in alignment whenever Psyche launches. Now, you mentioned there it launches at a specific time. And that's really just to ensure that Falcon Heavy can put Psyche in the correct heliocentric orbit whenever it launches out, whenever it launches, into space.
Right, and that moment is getting closer. We are under the 10-minute mark. I'm sure for the Psyche team, they were waiting very, very long for this moment. Hopefully, the moment happens here. And Dos, there's also some impacts that the Falcon Heavy brings to this mix insofar as this launch window, right?
I mean, impacts to the mix, to the launch window. There's one of the interesting things about rockets, right? You think about it and you're like, oh, you just put the rocket on the pad and then you press the big red button at the exact second and it goes. And rockets are more complicated than that, especially with Falcon Heavy, the way that they try to chill down the propellants and do the sort of, I guess not deep cryo, but whatever you want to call it these days, to get everything ready for the launch. So it's not just the rocket has to be on the pad. It's not even just that the tanks have to be full of propellants. Remember, the propellants are constantly wanting to boil off. The temperatures are changing. They're rising. The pressures are changing. The pressure rises as the temperature rises, right? And you need everything to be right in the right sort of bars, right on the little gauge, right in the green zone where it's ready to launch at the exact time that you need it to launch. So this entire time, they're not just sitting waiting to press the button. They're managing all of the temperatures and pressures and propellant loads and everything about the rocket to make sure that everything is in the green at the exact time. The rocket does not want to stay in this mode. If we all just walked away right now, the rocket would boil off. The propellants would leak out. It would not be able to just hang out with this fully fueled cryogenic liquids on board. So they have to make sure that it's conditioned just right at the exact moment in time to launch the rocket. I actually just looked at the flag and I'm like, oh no, is the stream frozen? But there's almost no wind out there, Lon. Look at that.
That's a good sign, at least for the lower level winds, right? So the upper levels.
Confirm. It's like there's barely a breeze out here. The sun has just come out here at the press site. It's gorgeous out here. There's still a few clouds and stuff out over 39A, but at least over here at the press site, it's gorgeous.
That's
I wonder
awesome.
what the
So that's
widest shot we have is. Like, what's the widest? There we go.
you go.
Thank you, Patrick. All
So
right.
yeah, looks like there are some clouds there, but it looks like center core RP1 load is complete. So they're hitting all those milestones that Das was just talking about. So that's a good sign. And yeah, that flag does not look like it's moving at all.
Lon, I literally thought the stream was frozen. I looked at the flag and I'm like, no, the flag should be moving a little bit. And then I looked down at the countdown clock and lo and behold, the clock was ticking. So, hey.
Yes, it's still going. So that's a good sign, and good sign for us and a good sign for the team here as we are awaiting launch. Here's a great shot of the fairing halves there. Look at that. Are they going to try to recover these, Das?
Yes,
Or
they
is
are
it too
trying to
far out?
recover these. Nope, they're trying to recover them. I think Bob is downrange to try and grab these. You can really see the split, right? That is the two sides of the clamshell, fairing on one side, fairing on the other side to make a complete fairing. I guess fairing half on either side, right? But that is there with the spacecraft inside. It'll open up, it'll free the spacecraft, and those will come down, splash down to the ocean, get picked up, and potentially used again.
All right, we got a couple of super chats to catch up on here, quite a few actually. Remy Turk, thank you very much for the €20 super chat, which is $21.08 here in the U.S. And I had another super chat question here from Matthew Dahl about the fact that center cores have not been coming back as frequently. Certainly, I believe on the first two missions they had, they did not land them successfully. I'm guessing it just that the amount of energy that we need to put into the spacecraft means that there's not enough fuel to bring back that center core.
It's tricky with the Falcon Heavy. The center core ends up going much higher energy, right? It ends up going farther, faster, and higher than it would for just a regular Falcon 9 by itself. So they have had some difficulties. Like, they to get one back down again, but it didn't last long after landing, and a couple other ones just went straight into the drink, but they'll have another chance here to do it. It might be the first one that they actually completely successfully recover. We shall see. We're going to be watching.
And it looks like we've got some venting now on the second stage. So
Look at that
is another
straight up. Lon, like there's just no wind. It's just
there's no wind.
Going straight up. Look at the vapors at the base of the pad just hanging around like a Halloween swamp or something like that. I don't know. Halloween.
It's pretty crazy. You don't usually see that there, do you?
No, usually the wind is blowing them away, and you see like a stream going off to one side, but there's that flag again. Almost no motion out there. This makes for some good reflecting shots today.
Yeah. And just look at that going up. How do you think this might impact the sound that you hear at the launch site? Because every time I've been to a launch, even with the same rockets, they always sound different.
You do get a lot of differences with the way the wind is going. A couple different things will change the sound. Cloud cover is the biggest thing. Sometimes when you can't see the rocket because it goes into a cloud, the sound transmission of the water vapor in the cloud is more powerful than just clear air. I don't know if powerful is the right way to say it, but it sounds way louder when there's a lot of cloud cover. The wind can play a factor as well. Like you said, if the wind is blowing away from you, the rocket can sound a little bit quieter. If the wind is blowing towards you, the rocket can sound a little bit louder. When there's no wind, I'm going to guess that it's somewhere in the middle, right? I haven't been out to very many launches where there's absolute... Look at the vapors going straight up.
Yeah.
You never see that out there.
Never see that. They usually get blown away, right? So
Yep.
It looks like Psyche is on internal power now, and the strong back retraction is now underway. So we are seeing all these mission milestones getting hit here, which indicates that NASA and SpaceX are continuing through the count as we're going.
Yeah, and hey, Lon and Dos, I'm gonna head off stream, go get into my position for launch, and get ready to. Oh, I don't even know.
Enjoy it, Hagen.
I am about to freak out. Okay, I'll talk to you guys after launch.
Yep.
All right.
We'll get them, and we'd love to hear from you afterward to get your take on the experience. Always good to share, Dos. I don't know, I know for my first rocket launch, I actually recorded my feelings after, just so I didn't forget them. Right.
It really is. It really is a thing. Like, experience the launches, especially if you haven't been to a launch or you haven't been to a Falcon Heavy. It is a thing that you experience. It's a thing that you feel. You don't just watch a rocket launch. Like, you get the rumble in your chest. It's the adrenaline is crazy. You just start to like shaking almost.
Yeah, right.
So much adrenaline.
And while we're waiting here's another question from the super chat. Do you think we'll ever see a triple RTLS? I don't think we will, given how far away this core booster gets, right?
Yeah, it really wouldn't make a lot of sense to get a triple RTLS, because the entire point of the 3 cores is that the 2 side cores give the center core more of a push. So for the center core to make it all the way back would be a very interesting mission indeed. Normally I'd expect we either see 2 come back and 1 land downrange, or maybe for an ultra high energy Falcon Heavy launch one day, 3 downrange landings.
And the center core LOX load is now complete. So we've got a fully fueled rocket, and now we're just topping it off until T0. So we are getting there.
Yep,
we are getting there. And
the Psyche team is go for launch as well. It looks like they are. Spacecraft must be healthy. Everything ticking around. Coming up on 2 minutes, Lon.
This is the fun time. It's funny how fast the 2 minutes go when you're trying to get your camera set up.
Now's the time. You can see, like, you'll see the cameras start to move around, and it's because the camera operators are unlocking their tripods. They're like loosening the little screws so they can move it. I used to do it was called a rocket blessing, where I would go up and down and then left and right to make sure that the pan and tilt was free. So when it was time to start tracking the rocket, it was good to go. But if you see a camera feed start to waggle around at T-minus 2 minutes, it's because they're unlocking the tripod heads so that they can track it. Real quick, y'all, we are up to 20,000 people sharing this with us here today. 20,300 people. Our name is NASASpaceflight NSF here on the channel. This is what we do. We do commentary. We're not actually NASA proper, but if you like what we do, you know how to follow us. Click the little button, like and subscribe, turn on the bell or whatever you're supposed to do. We have a ton of fun sharing this with you. We're happy to see you here. There's a little thumbs up you can click as well. We got 3,000 likes right now. Click that thumbs up in the last 60 seconds before launch. And one last thing I'll say, there's a ton of things in the queue, so much support that's come in. There's no way we can read it all. The scroll bar is tiny. So we're going to read a couple of those after launch. But Lon, I'm going to hand it back to you for the last 50 seconds here.
Right. Yeah, here we go. And what we'll do once we get to T0, we like to do what we call a little rocket ASMR. So we're going to shut up and let you listen to it because we want to give you the best experience that you can have. And that's one of the fun things about watching one of these lift off is that lift off silently when you're 3 miles away, and then the sound kind of rolls over you about 22 to 25 seconds later. So we are in the inside of the count here. We are at 25 seconds according to our clock. And all systems are go. So we are just going to count down until those rockets light up and we're off the pad. And we're going to have a lot of fun stuff to watch, including 2 landings. And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff. SpaceX, NASA, and Stoke. Now we will fly it. Experience this beautiful launch. All right, so what a spectacular liftoff, DOS, huh? It never gets old, does it?
Look at this go, Lon. This is
Oh my
ridiculous.
gosh.
Look at the amount of fire coming out of the back of Falcon Heavy. 27 Merlin engines pushing that thing away from, I don't know, it's probably pushing the Earth away from it, it looks like.
Yeah, I felt my my room shake a little bit here in Connecticut.
How was the
And now we're
audio on
starting
that
to-
one? Chad, did y'all hear that audio? Go ahead, Lon.
Yeah, I did not hear the audio through our Discord, but I know that everyone in the chat was hearing some pretty spectacular rocket sounds. Now, what are we looking at here? We're going to be hitting Max-Q soon, right?
We are. We're continuing to see the plume expansion happen. 27 Merlin engines not constrained. There is the separation.
Wow.
From both
There go
sides, the
those-
rocket cam and the tracking cam. Go ahead.
And there go those arms, right? So those are the structural components there that held the whole thing together. Our center core is going off to orbit while the 2 boosters are coming back. Hagen's getting quite a show there on the ground. I can't wait till we get him back on chat to hear hear what his experiences are. So now we've got 3 separate spacecraft to keep track of.
It's true. We have the 2 boosters going in the center core with the second stage and Psyche aboard. Look at the exhaust. You can see how the exhaust comes out of the engine bell and almost just goes straight to the side. There's just no atmospheric pressure up there to keep it in the little pencil flame like you normally, your kids are drawing rockets, a little flame comes straight out the bottom, right? It's coming straight out the sides.
And pretty soon we're going to see that that center core booster detach from the upper stage. And Das, the upper stage engine bell is much larger. Is that because it's in vacuum and not dealing with the atmosphere?
It's exactly for what you see right here. You see how the exhaust is going straight out the sides? As you get into space, into the vacuum of space, there's no atmosphere there to sort of make the exhaust go straight away from the rocket. It wants to go sideways. So, sideways, whatever.
Whatever.
So when we get into space, we actually build a larger engine bell to help keep that exhaust going backwards, away from the rocket, so you harness as much of the energy as you can, pushing the rocket forwards, right? Here we see the internal view of that second stage, and there's the
There it
separation.
goes. Then we'll see that rocket engine ignite.
There it is.
There it is. And it's getting blasted right there.
Yep. Now there's the...
Now,
You go ahead.
so now we've got 4 spacecraft to keep track of.
Brief loss of signal there. There's the map as it goes downrange, illustrating there's that first stage going back. There's the second stage going to go downrange. There's the fairing separation. The sun.
Right, things are looking good here. Isn't that cool? Look at that fairing go off.
Yeah.
The view. They're going to pick that up in the ocean.
They are. It's tumbling
Both of them.
behind them.
Right, so things are looking very good here. Our second stage is looks like it's lit up and healthy. And that engine bell gets pretty much red hot, but that's normal.
Yep, that is normal. The black body radiation you see coming out of the engine bell, literally glowing. It's so hot up there. And you can see the exhaust also coming out of the back, but it's a lot of visible exhaust up there.
There are a number of burns here for this particular flight. So this is not like a Starlink where things deploy shortly after launch. We're looking at a couple of hours before we get everything positioned properly. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. It's one of the other difficult things to do with the spacecraft. Coast phase and reignition of the engine. The ignition needs the light, or the engine needs to ignite, needs the light one time during the phase right here, but it's going to need to coast a little ways and turn on a couple times.
I see some ice build up there, Das.
There's always ice. It's not a mouse running back and forth. That looks like it's a small poodle or something like that. It's not. It's just ice.
We were super chilled, and these engines get chilled ahead of their ignition as well. So there's a lot of opportunity for that moisture to kind of build up there.
Yeah.
But
you don't want to thermally shock them like you have an ambient temperature fuel line or whatever, and then you just put cryogenic liquid through it all of a sudden, and then you blow it up and make it really hot. They try to condition it down to certain operating temperatures before they actually let it. You get ice that forms in there. It collects in that little ring around the top of the engine there. That's part of the pump system. It's just ice. Look, that is actually a big piece of ice today, though. Look at that.
It's hanging on pretty good there. And that's why they have these cameras. You know, it's not just for our benefit. It's to understand some of the processes that go on here. I would bet a lot of changes to the design over the years have happened, very subtle ones perhaps, based on the behavior of the ice that they're witnessing.
Yep, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, the engineering cams are beautiful. They look fantastic, but they're not just to make us love rockets going to space. They do use them to watch, like, look at the insulation that's sort of vibrating on the side there. That's just insulation they wrap stuff with. I'm watching the ice. It's like the ice is growing as more and more of it sort of goes downhill from the rocket's perspective and gets caught in the little tubing there.
Yeah, look at that. Put together. It's kind of neat to watch the processes at work here and all the different things that are working to create that situation. You also get a sense of how the acceleration here. Right? Look at the Earth moving below. It's not the Earth moving, it's the rocket.
Yeah, it has to be going. I mean, it needs to be going so fast that it misses the Earth when gravity pulls it back down again. You don't go into space and mysteriously there's no gravity anymore. That's not how it works. The spacecraft just gets going so fast that when gravity pulls it down, it misses the Earth. So, upcoming in just a few seconds, we may or may not get visuals on the landing once they come back down out of that cloud. Not sure which feeds we're going to have for that because the cloud cover's causing some troubles here watching the boosters come back, but be on the lookout. We may switch to that camera here shortly.
Usually we're seeing, there we go, we got something going on here. Usually we see a lot more of the multiple images here, but it looks like we've got a
look at
anything
that
going on here. That came quick. We usually have some time to prepare for that. Oh, what a great shot.
That's from that's our Cape cams over there that watch
that is awesome.
Jetty Park. There's one booster. Where's the other? All right.
They have been spaced. We see both. They're not. Usually they space these apart a little bit, but we definitely saw one come in.
There is one there. Is there another one? There is.
There it is. Okay. We got both of them. Yeah, generally, we see the images from both boosters on the way down, but this time it looks like they were having some communication difficulties.
I'm not exactly sure. I know the cloud cover hurt things, but I'm really surprised we only saw one booster from that one camera angle.
Yeah, usually it's a more spectacular image.
But there they are. They're both on the pad.
There they are, and it looks like we had successful second stage engine cutoff at the 826 mark there. So now we're coasting for about the next 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes before they light it up again. There's actually one additional burn here, and that will be a 2-minute burn at T plus 54 minutes. So there's still a little bit of work to go here. But the heavy lifting, if you will, is complete. We have 2 boosters successfully landed. And the third booster, Das, are we getting that one back, or that one's going into the ocean?
That one's going down. What are we doing today, actually? Are we recovering that one on a drone ship, or are we putting that one into the... I think they're trying to recover it, aren't they? Which ship are they have out there?
And that often is a much more difficult... Yeah, we'll get the name of it. And that one's a much more difficult landing because you're coming in with, certainly farther out, but also at a much more significant velocity on the way down to bleed off some of that. It looks like that booster is going to be expended, so that one will not be landing today.
There we go. Thank you.
There's our second stage. Beautiful shot. It gives you a good sense of the speed that we went from 0 to that in less than 10 minutes. And it looks like we had some of our folks on the ground. I don't know if Hagen is ready yet. I don't see him in our back channel discussion yet, but I'm seeing in the chat Julia and Ryan had some significant experiences with sonic booms. Julia's saying in our back channel, Julia Bergeron, who's one of our dedicated field reporters, said it was louder than normal. So much louder than the press site.
Apparently what was going on with the landings there, that might have been the most staggering, the most time between the 2 booster landings ever. What we saw, the first one was already down by the time we saw the other one coming down there with that one camera shot. So that was the confusion. I'm used to seeing them both come down pretty close to each other. And I thought we were seeing the first one, but apparently the other one was already down.
We saw that also when we were both at the launch of Crew 7. Remember that landing burn was so short. I wonder if they're experimenting with different means of landing to try to get more performance out of these boosters.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly. SpaceX sometimes doesn't say those things. Sometimes you need somebody in the press conference to ask, but the mission's about Psyche. It's not all about exactly what the Falcon Heavy did. And Psyche being on its way is the most important thing.
And that is a good sign. And again, we're going to be waiting for about 40 or so minutes before that second burn. But wow, that was exciting. So do we want to take some more, a couple of super chats as best we can before we close things out here, Das?
I think we should. We've got my favorite view on the screen here. Not getting a lot of views from the rocket, it looks like, here at T plus 12 minutes. There's another.
Wow.
Oh, what happened here? Did this camera take a hit?
I think it took a hit.
You think it's cracked? I wonder if that's the glass in front of the camera cracked. Huh.
Wow.
All right.
That's some power going on there. Hey, Das, I noticed that there's another structure going up next to the tower there. What is that for?
Which structure, right? We can see Pad 39A with the crew arm. We can see the strong back that's at a 45-degree angle right now. We can see the
and then there's
tank.
Right behind that strong back. It looks like they're constructing. Is that new construction there? There's another black structure going up.
That should be the same one here at 39A.
That's been there. Okay.
Yeah, we've got the Starship tower over the right-hand side. Haven't seen a lot of motion there. The incomplete orbital launch mount, water tower behind it. But 39A there, that's what we've seen from 39A for a while.
All right. Let's see if we can get through some of our super chat here and take a few of these in here. So we have a $4.99 super chat from Musical Wolves. Would a Starship Heavy be needed if launching on a Starship? That's a meta question.
I think we'd love to see it, but I don't think you would need a Starship Heavy for anything. Want?
Right.
Sure. Need? Probably not.
Right. And, I would just love to see a launch of Falcon Heavy. That's what we've been waiting for. So hopefully we'll see one of those very soon. And, of course, you can follow us here on NSF to get that going. Peter Thompson earlier with a $10 A super chat. I believe that's Australian. A good luck toasted marshmallow for Psyche. What modifications are made to convert a Falcon 9 booster into a Falcon Heavy side booster?
Into a side booster? The
Yeah, I
Central
guess not
Core
many,
has
right?
the Central Core has the most modifications, I guess, if you wanted to say it that way. But the side boosters just need those attach points, and then they get the nose cone at the top, since they would only have a second stage there with a payload on top, and you don't want them to just be a flat, open top of the rocket. They put a little nose cone on there, and then the way that it can actually be strapped to the center core. But if I'm not mistaken, it's more modification to the center core than it is to the side cores.
Because we see these boosters kind of going on a Falcon Heavy and then going back to a single mission, so the side boosters are a little more flexible. Jen Hernandez with a $10 super chat. It's been a long time coming. Yes, I think for the people that have been following this mission, like Hagen in particular on our stream here today, this has been a long time developing this mission, and so many sometimes some of these missions go on for so long, entire careers go into them. So it's exciting to see that we have, at least so far, a successful ride to orbit here, and we of course have some more burns coming, or a burn coming up to get it into the position it needs to for deployment. But so far so good, and yeah, it's great to have so many people on here. Great Mewtwo with a $2 super chat, and I'll put it up on screen here. Psyche's 6 years will be like Cassini to Saturn. It's very similar to that, isn't it?
There you go. I mean, it just takes time to get to the outer solar system like that. So
it sure does. So we have so many dots here. I don't think we're gonna be able to get to all of them.
No,
so I'm trying my best here.
The tiny. There's no way we could read them all.
Yeah, but we'll put a few up on screen here. Especially, we have a lot of milestones here too that we're now incorporating into our support feed here, so you can see some of those as we put them up here. So I will run a few as we run things out. I would love to hear from Hagen before we close out, if we're able to get him, just to get his reaction, because he got the full Falcon Heavy experience here, apparently with some pretty loud booms on the way back down too. So I'm kind of jealous I'm not there right now.
It's always something to see a launch. Like, it's always so much fun to see a launch.
Absolutely. So this is the 9th Falcon Heavy launch, isn't it?
Let's see. We said was this the 8th or the 9th? We were talking about it earlier, and then it was confusing. I think this was the 8th Falcon Heavy launch. Adrian, we were talking about, we almost made like, oh, the shop discount should be the number of Falcon Heavy launches. Is it 9? This is actually the 8th launch, if I'm not mistaken. And then we just rounded the discount up to 10 because we're like 8% discount, really. So
yeah, right. Yeah, we got to give a hearty discount there, especially for the amount of trivia questions that we had to put through here. So
yeah,
we made him work for the discount today, so that's for sure.
Slightly, we made him learn for the discount.
Yeah. So what happens now after we have a launch here? I see some venting coming out of that strong back. Oh, what's next for the pad team to get ready for the next SpaceX launch that will likely be very soon after this one?
Well, the next launch we see should be over that Starlink from 40, so that pad should be good to go. I think if there's staff crossovers, right, like folks that work the launch, they just need to get some rest. I think that they have multiple teams that do those sorts of things. But here, they do have to do some reconfigurations at 39A, because the next launch would not be expected to be a Falcon Heavy launch. Hopefully, we get other things launching from 39A before that. Just some reconfigurations to the way the strongback is out there and the lines that connect to the various boosters to support the single stick instead of the 3-stick Falcon Heavy. So it does take them a little bit of time, but that's why they have multiple launch pads out there. Starlink will continue going off of 40 while they work with this.
Right, and soon over on 40, they'll be launching astronauts as well. They've got that crew access arm going in too, so there's just endless activity there. Hey, I see Hagen is joining us, who just experienced this Falcon Heavy. So have at it, my friend. What did you experience for the folks watching? This was your first Falcon Heavy launch, so let's hear what your experience was
actually,
like.
it wasn't. I was at STP2 in 2019, but this was my first from the press site.
Okay.
Oh, wow. I mean, there's no words. I mean, just it's hard, whenever people say that you feel it, like there's no other way to say it, but it's just such a unique feeling to feel a rocket's, like, just to feel it in your chest. And for me, knowing that Psyche was on top of that, it was both extremely nerve-wracking, but also so incredibly exciting. it was a gorgeous launch. The clouds cleared up right before liftoff, and then the landings, the sonic booms, the sonic. You can ask Max. The sonic booms scared me a little bit whenever the first one came in. Even the second one, we knew it was coming, and I still jumped a bit. But I'm just we're at what T+18 minutes now, and I'm still just I'm in shock.
It takes time
That's
for the
exactly-
adrenaline to get out of your system, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think what people what's it's almost frightening when you see a rocket launch that close for the first time, because it it's really as in a simpler term, it's kind of a controlled explosion. So there's tremendous amounts of energy just going out the back of that rocket, and it's so bright, it's so loud, and it's crazy. I'm glad that you got the opportunity to see that. But Hagen, they're not done here with this sequence, because we're basically waiting for a second burn. And then the spacecraft will be on its way. So the Psyche team is excited. I'm sure that as we said earlier, the heavy lifting is over, but there's still some more traveling to be done here before we can call this launch a success. Is that right?
Yeah. So right now we're in a coast phase. That second stage, that Merlin vacuum mentioned on the second stage, lit up, and it's now shut down. They're currently coasting out, and at about T+54 minutes is when we're expecting that second engine burn to begin. That burn's going to last about around 2 minutes or so. And based off SpaceX's website, that burn will shut down at T+56 minutes and 12 seconds. And then we'll wait a little bit longer for Psyche deploy to happen at about T+1 hour, 2 minutes.
All right. So we have a...
Lon, one of the biggest things that people don't realize, it's like we're all so excited. 20,000+ people, I think it was like 22,000 or something like that, watching the launch here with us. But the launch is such one little point in time, right?
It is.
And the spacecraft team going through all the checkouts. Imagine the team saw the rocket launch go, and they know that the spacecraft is on its way, but it may be hours before they actually hear from the spacecraft. So we're all excited. We got to see an awesome launch, and the spacecraft teams are sitting there. It's time for them to go to work, and they have to start their work waiting with nothing that they can do, waiting until they get a signal from the spacecraft. That's got to be just nerve-wracking.
Oh, I can't even imagine. I mean, and it's every one of these NASA missions, and they're getting more and more complex, right? So this is certainly not over yet for the team, Hagen, right?
Yeah, I'm still holding my breath. I'm not letting out a deep exhale until I know that they have communications with the spacecraft solar panels are deployed and such like that. So yeah, I feel for the Psyche team. I haven't even worked on it or have any affiliation with it, and I'm freaking out right now over it. So I can't even imagine what all of them are feeling right now.
Well, I tell you what, I'm pretty excited. I've seen, one in Falcon Heavy in person and a bunch on these NSF streams, but it again never gets old. And I'm excited for the team who have their work cut out for them, but I think they've been preparing and training for all that will go on here. And Hagen, too, when we think about human spaceflight, you're always thinking about the things that might go wrong. I'm guessing they do a lot of training to prepare for different problems that they might anticipate.
Oh yes. They have tons of contingency plans. If the solar panel doesn't deploy, what do they do there? What systems do they have? Let's use that example. If only one solar panel deploys, they've got to sit down and figure out what on the spacecraft do they need to turn off so they can try to save as much power as possible. So like coming up with plans like that to figure out how to deal with certain situations wherein it could be a hardware failure, it could be a failure with something on the second stage of Falcon Heavy and stuff like that. Trying to figure out what exactly to do in those situations. They plan for that. But then in other times, it's sort of a similar situation to a rocket launch. There's like a million things that can go wrong with a rocket launch, but only one way it can go right. Similar thing happening here with Psyche. There's a million different things that could go wrong with the spacecraft. These are extremely complex machines. They are not simple in design at all. And so they may plan for stuff, but at the same time, there's tons of different things that could still go wrong that they haven't planned for. And in that case, they've got to, they've got to know, they have to have everybody on board ready to sit down and figure out how to solve an issue.
And that is, what they have to know their spacecraft, and I think they know it quite well. And there we've got a shot of the JPL team in a very familiar control room. We often watch the Mars landings from this room as well, and they're obviously still got a lot of work to do. I do see some high fives going on, so clearly the one of the nerve-wracking phases is over, and the next is getting that spacecraft online. Hey, we've got a $50 super chat here. Another one from Bidford, who says, "You guys are the best. Thank you all for the coverage." And we really enjoy doing this for everybody because it's about sharing our shared enthusiasm together as a community. So thank you very much for your contribution, which helps keep things going here. And also a $10 here from G. Jacobson. Thank you very much for your support too. What do you think, Das?
Hey, I'm going to run through and say thanks to just a couple more people here real quick. Stuart Watson, thank you so much. Says, as I approach 3 years as a member, I want to say thanks for the great work NASA spaceflight across all areas of space exploration. It's been a pleasure to watch you grow and succeed. Stuart, thank you so much. 35 months at Capcom. I can't read them all, y'all, but I want to hit some of the highs here. We've also got Methane Man, who gifted 20 Red Team memberships while we were going through that. We had MacGyver, who gifted 5 Red Team memberships. I saw in here, there we go, Dr. J Gaming, 26 months as Padrat member. We've also got 12 months with Stefan Batiste over there as well. The Falcon Heavy launch, exactly at the moment I have to leave to get my daughter from daycare. Luckily, you can watch the replay there. Listen to it in the car, whichever way. But Stefan, thank you so much for the support. Again, y'all, I can't read them all. Just trying to say thanks. Billy Day gifted 5 Red Team memberships there. There was a store message from Mel. Thanks for all you do. Space all the way, lads. Ryan was in Florida. Question from Nick there on a store message. Ryan was down there in Florida, but he was not on the stream. We just said, Ryan, you just watch this and have fun. That's kind of what we said, I guess. Jeffrey S., 23 months is Capcom. Always nice to see a Falcon Heavy launch and exploration mission. Thank you, NSF. See if I'm just scrolling through. There's 30 months from Leet Dan over there. We've got 14 months Capcom Falcon Maze. And I'm not sure what that question is. How long till the boom, 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 boom? I'm not sure if that's a question about Starship or if that's a question about sonic booms or what. But I
bet you that was probably the sonic booms.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, boom, 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 boom. We got.
Hey, Hagen, how many booms did you hear?
There you go.
That's a great question because I believe it was 6 because I think I counted 3 each time. I took a video of me and Max's reactions during it, so I have to go back and listen to that and see. But I believe it was 3, so 3 times 2 equals 6, so 6 total.
I think that's a great video. We'll have to post later of your reactions to that. So yeah,
I may have to. I'll have to talk to Max about it.
Now, so you heard the boom, 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 boom. Did you hear the pew, 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 pew?
The pew. Are you talking about the VAB screech? Because I definitely heard that.
Right. Yep.
Yes.
So you got the full package. The pew,
yes.
the boom, boom, and the pew, pew.
The VAB screech was unreal. It was honestly pretty scary to hear it like after the sonic booms came through. It was wild. It was really cool.
It's amazing just what you experience witnessing these things. And Max I've been with Max out there, and Max has seen, I can't even tell you how many he's seen, but his enthusiasm never wanes. So it's fun to be with him experiencing that together. So
yes, definitely.
Good stuff there. Hey, Das, how can people keep track of all these streams that we do? Because we've got a lot coming up.
Just spend 24/7 with multiple YouTube browser windows open and watch what's going on. Is that the right answer? I don't know what's the right answer. No, we've got lots of ways you can follow us. Make sure you're following over here on YouTube. If you're watching on X, you can make sure you're following our main account there. Don't block it, or it'd be really hard to actually see all of these streams we've been putting directly on X. What else do we have? If you're a member of the Discord or you're a member of the YouTube channel, you can be in the Discord over there as well. We've got L2 as well, our forums, the original way to support what we do. L2 members of certain levels get access to Discord as well. But make sure that you're following us at the very least on X and here on YouTube so you can get those notifications. You can turn on the bell or whatever it is so that you get a little pop-up. If you're following on Twitter, you can turn, I guess that's a bell as well, so you know what's happening. But we do try to send out notifications in advance before launches like this. Just look for us wherever we are. This is what we do. We have a ton of fun of it. Sometimes the feeds that we're getting from NASA are not great. There were some choppy feeds there today and some confusion. A couple out-of-focus cameras, which was surprising, but the clouds really made it tough. And I want to say one more thing, Lon. A couple people were saying that they might have gotten ads. YouTube has changed the way that they do these ads. and we are still trying to figure out the best way to configure that. But YouTube made some changes on their end, and if an ad popped up, we are still trying to. I don't know if anybody knows this, but it's not like, oh yeah, you're a big channel, you have a YouTube partner representative, right? Like, no. We have to go into like an automated chat like everybody else, and it's like a robot chat that never answers anything. It's so difficult to get straight answers on exactly how stuff is supposed to work. So if there was an ad insert, we're still good gravy trying to work out exactly how that works. And it is tough to get information from YouTube. So thank you for bearing with us. It's super important that we're able to support the streams, but good grief, we don't want an ad to pop up at T-minus 10 seconds or something like that.
Right. I mean, that's the worst time.
It is. No, it is. YouTube claims that they'll randomly insert ads, and it's like, wait, seriously? Come on. So we're still working on the best way to do that. We do have to be able to pay for the streams, but nobody wants an ad at T-minus whatever, or in the middle of the launch or whatever.
It's another button to push, and my understanding is that everyone experiences an ad insertion differently. So all 22,000 people may get it at different rates or whatever. So we'll figure it out. I've been battling this myself on my own channel, so it's par for the course. Unfortunately, I've got a whole series about all the things that are driving me crazy about YouTube. They're trying to fill more ad inventory, but if you're just tuning in, there was once a rocket on that pad, a very big one, a Falcon Heavy, and the rocket's not there because it successfully launched. And we saw 2 of those boosters return. They've been changing the duration between the landings, so that is why we didn't get a great shot of the landing. But I'm sure we'll have some video to post later of it. I know our team on the ground certainly had an experience that I would love to be able to share with all of you. So be on the lookout. Subscribe to the channel, and you'll be able to see that. And I'm also seeing in the off to the right there on that Starship. Tower, we have some chopsticks there too. It looks a lot like Starbase, isn't it?
It does. Missing the OLM, but it looks like the works there have been sort of on hold since. Oh, hey.
Meanwhile, in space.
Meanwhile, in space. Nice. The Starship launch work at the Cape, or the Starship infrastructure work really at the Cape, has been sort of put on hold, it looks like. They're still working sort of in the factory area back on Roberts Roads. If you watch our flyovers, we watch those on a regular basis. But there at the pad, not a ton of action happening. I think they're trying to figure out how things work at Boca before they put a lot more work into the things here at the Cape.
Right, exactly. And it looks like those. There's a nice shot from orbit. What are we seeing there? A little rotation?
I'm curious. The feed's a little hiccupy there. That is definitely the back. But was that other one looking forward?
I think it was. Let's see if we get another shot of that.
Yeah, I think those feeds. So we do have some feeds that we can get from NASA, but sometimes they're frozen or choppy. Sometimes you see it on NASA's broadcast as well. It's like they have it directly, and that's just the
Alex
way that it comes from space. Go ahead.
Alex in the back channel was saying if it looked like a roll, it might be what they call barbecuing, which is to balance out the thermals on the spacecraft.
Yeah, the rotisserie here, like a rotisserie chicken, and they sort of roll it like that, and that gives the. I'm not sure if they should really be in rotisserie mode yet, or this is just how it's coasting currently. I don't have information on exactly the state of these feeds that they're giving us. Are they in real time? Are they delayed? What's going on with it?
We'll keep an eye on things there, and certainly that sun when you get above the atmosphere is quite hot. So I remember the shuttle used to barbecue where they would turn it to balance out the thermals from the sun there. But so we will keep an eye on that. The second burn does not occur until T plus 54 minutes. So the spacecraft will be coasting up until that point, and that's about a 2-minute burn.
Yep, still got some time there.
But it's always good to see an empty launch pad.
It is. It means we got to see an awesome rocket launch today. So
that's for sure. So what's the hey Hayden? What's the feeling on the ground there? It looks like it was a pretty well attended launch this morning. Are people excited?
Yeah, definitely. Whenever Falcon Heavy lifted off that pad, there were cheers everywhere. We were all saw people jumping up and down and such, and that's still pretty much the mood here. Everybody here is really excited. It looks like there's some bad weather kind of rolling in right now, so some people are probably making their way inside.
Every time to start packing up, huh?
Yeah, looks like everybody. Looks like they chose a launched at the right time. So
Got
Yeah.
it on its
And that's
way.
what it is. It's a matter. Sometimes your weather report looking a couple days out might be bad, but if you can squeeze it out before that weather rolls in, which it looks like that's the case, I think that's what happened here. So successful launch. We've got some venting out of the strong back there. I'm guessing Das, that's just bleeding off some of the excess.
Yeah, that
box?
cascade is normal. That's normal
Yep.
for the strong bad to sort of trickle in a little waterfall there after launch. So,
Right, and there's our view from orbit. A little bit of rotation, but it doesn't.
yeah.
Alex in our back channel believes that might be a little bit of barbecuing just to keep the thermals under control. I just don't remember reading about that as one of the things we would expect here.
They are supposed to go into the rotisserie, but it's not until after. Like the part that I read about was after they separated was when they were expected to be doing that. But I'm not sure. It's tough to tell with the feeds. It has clearly got a little bit of a spin to it. Likely nothing to be worried about. And remember, there are more burns that have to happen before they go. It might be something because it's still attached to the second stage doing some things, and it'll correct itself before actually releasing Psyche.
Right, and there's also some fuel still remaining in the tank there, both LOX and RP1. So they need to make sure they keep those thermals under control there. And of course, there are controls, thrusters on that second stage to, get it pointed in the right direction when they're ready to light up again in about 20 minutes or so.
Yep.
We do one more run through the chat room here.
I mean, hey, you want me to speed run a couple real quick?
Yeah, why don't you do a couple?
Again, there's no way I can get through all of them, y'all, but Tone Deaf Coyotes. Nice username. Says, epic, let's light another one soon. A 28-month launch director milestone there. We've got BWJC, 36 months. 3 years. I didn't even recognize that we had the member program for 3 years here now, but we do. And beyond that, I think we've covered those. There's so many things I can't read them all. Man's on Mars. What do y'all think about the mission logo? Looks like HAL 9000 inspired. I mean,
I love the logo. I love, I think it's awesome whenever they incorporate like the spacecraft and stuff into the logo. But I also love logos like Psyche's, where it's sort of just like a symbol, or it looks that way at least. I think it's really neat.
You know something? It's got like the central circle and the four lobes. I would like to know. I actually don't know the story behind that design. Is that the four science instruments? Is that something
Yeah,
about-
I'm thinking the same exact thing. Somebody may have to tag the PI,
Yeah.
and get that answer.
That'd be,
It looks like one of those like mission patches in like a sci-fi movie where all the crew members are
Yes,
part of
yeah.
some
Yeah.
that cool vibe to it. So it's there's one good thing about all these space missions is that the artists that design all this cool stuff have a lot of work ahead of them. So that's exciting.
All right. Google is our friend. You may not be surprised to learn that there is an entire article on the ASU website that says how the Psyche badge came to be. And they have all sorts of concepts about it. I haven't read the entire thing yet, so I'm stalling while I read to see where it goes.
That's the beauty of the internet, the information age. There's a story about everything. So
yeah. There's all the shading options. There's how
Oh,
they
wow.
chose the font. You know something? I'm going to put this link into chat that shows all the information about how they came to that specific logo. There's a link over to the ASU website explaining their thinking.
and apparently some brand guidelines so that you can you can follow everything appropriately there too. So that's
Yeah.
great.
Okay, here you go, Lon. Here you go. A depiction of a planetesimal separated internally into a rocky mantle and iron core that endured violent impacts, stripping away its mantle. That's what the center and then the outer bits of the logo are. There, if we scroll down, we can actually see the black and white logos there. There you go. Okay.
There you go.
That's what it's supposed to represent. The center core and the outer mantle that has been taken hits and stripped away and that sort of stuff is what they were going for there.
I'll tell you, this mission has given us more detail, I think, than any I can remember. I mean, just the patch. Look at all the concepts, the variations, the work that went into that. The Lindy's posts about all the different milestones that they're going to be reaching as they get to orbit. This has been a very transparent mission, more so than we typically see. And these missions are pretty transparent most of the time. I wonder if it's because they realize that the public is becoming, especially those who follow this channel and others, are becoming so much more informed about these missions that the amount of information that the public wants is far greater than it might have been before, where you just were looking for a picture or two.
I think it's also an ease at which the teams can disseminate the information sometimes. Like
Mhm.
we're seeing information come directly from the principal investigator, the Psyche lead on X, posted on social media, and then we got these blog posts and articles and stuff like that. And I wonder if there's not been a little freeing of the folks on the mission being able to share that information that used to maybe have to go to more restrictive channels. I don't
I
know
bet
that
that's
that's
true.
what it is, but I love to see
Mhm.
it. I love to get all these details. I mean,
Mm.
it really is just getting this amount of information. And this is another point, Lon. You don't have to be a rocket scientist, a rocket engineer, an interplanetary physicist in order to be involved with space, the space program, space companies. I mean, there's a team of graphics designers that made the badge for the mission. You could be a graphics designer who's involved with space. There are project managers. There are people that have to do budgets if that's your thing. I know some people think it's
Mhm.
fun. There are so many different ways to get involved. It's not just about being an aerospace engineer who's an expert rocket scientist or a trajectory designer or whatever. There's so many different skill sets that people of all different backgrounds can have to be involved with space. So I always think
And I
about that. It's a good thing to see.
And I bet you, out of the 20,000 plus people that watch today, there's probably some young men and women who are getting inspired to do that in their careers later in life. So it's that's why we do what we do. I know that's a
It's
big passion of yours, Das.
It really is. It's part of the immersion. Like just having access to this information shows you all the different ways that you could be involved. It's not just and now the steely-eyed missile men slash people slash whatever are here on launch day, and it's the elite group of people who are going to press the button. Like, come on. There's normal people of all different types who are involved with this that make things like this possible. It wouldn't be possible without the teams. So it's really good to see, Alon.
Absolutely. So yeah, this is a great launch, and again, we've got a little bit more to go here for the lighting of the second stage at T plus 54 minutes, which is about 14 minutes from now. At that point, after that burn, we will get closer to deployment. So I have from the time frame here, 54 minutes is the burn start. That goes to 56:12. I'm not sure though how long it stays attached to that second stage after that second burn. I would imagine they have some checkouts to do.
I have that for you, Lon.
Oh,
According to SpaceX's website, the trajectory and the date and the information they put on their website, Psyche deployment is at T plus 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 24 seconds.
got it. So a little bit past that 56-minute mark when that burn cuts out. So I don't know if we all want to stay online for this, Das. It's pretty close.
I think it comes down. I mean, a lot of people stay around for the launch. We're currently getting intermittent feeds from the spacecraft. It's either the pad here or just a map. And every now and then we'll get a few seconds of clean video from the spacecraft itself. Well, I say the spacecraft from the second stage, really, is where that video is coming from. But I don't know. Chat, what do y'all think? What are we at? 40, that's about 20 minutes from now for Psyche deploy. Then we're going to add another 10 minutes onto that.
Right.
We
may not have much to show them. We could probably do some updates on other platforms if we need to. So
yeah, my concern is I don't just want y'all to sit here and not have anything to look at.
Right.
We could look at the map. I mean, here's the orbital map of where it is. Every now and then, again, we're at the mercy. We don't get those direct feeds from the spacecraft. We have to get that from NASA, and we don't have them consistently, it looks like. So I'm gonna read some chat. Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive until the next launch. Stay alive until the next launch. It's
yeah, who needs
7:00
to sleep or eat? We could just chit chat all afternoon about stuff.
Austin will stay even without the visuals. Let's see here. Can we look at birds? Nice. Epic? Eric, actually, not Epic. Eric Spittle says, stay, please. Can you please show the full trajectory? I mean, is this what you mean, or do you mean back to the trajectory map? Commentary 24/7, NSF Live 24/7 commentary. That would be a little tough to staff, I think, Lon.
Yeah, that would be it'd be like the night crew guy trying to stay awake.
Yeah, like, oh, a bird flew by.
A truck drove by, and
I
you know
heard
what's
the
amazing when you
owl.
look at these. Yeah, right, the owl, right.
No, last night. It's so we've got our 24/7 streams, right? We've got Space Coast Live, we've got Starbase Live, we've got McGregor Live, and I always have those streams. Oh, hey, spacecraft! On TVs around my house, like because we have them on YouTube, you can just cast them right to your smart TV. You don't have to cast them even, just a smart TV app. And so I had our Space Coast Live feed on last night because we were showing the mission on the pad, and then we get some frog noises and bird noises. but I heard the mission owl. There is an
Oh.
owl, I assume it's the same owl, I don't know, that sits on a railing very close to our microphones there at the KSC press site. And every now and then before missions, I hear the owl, and I'd like to think that the owl is a good luck sign for a mission. I mean, in hindsight, I heard the owl and then the mission launched, so yeah, exactly right.
Right.
But last night I heard the sounds of the mission good luck owl on the microphone on Space Coast Live.
Ooh.
Anyways,
Ooh.
it's ooh, nice. It's an owl countdown. So
Right. And then we have cows in Texas sometimes.
we do. We have the cows mooing on McGregor Live. What do we hear at Starbase? Mostly groaning chopsticks at Starbase.
Right. And venting.
Grackles too. We get grackles a lot.
Very industrial sounding place there. So it's there's a lot going on. I remember, at our time together in our Airbnb, there was a 24/7 feed all over the house there too.
Oh yeah. Hey, all the time. I like put the feeds everywhere I go. Like go into a bar and I'm like, hey, can I see your TV remote? I need to keep an eye on work. And then I put them
Right,
on
well,
feeds.
Yeah, you got. I mean, those feeds have to stay up. So I know how it's probably hard to go to sleep at night waiting for knowing something might go offline, right? So it's amazing though what you've constructed, and one of the fun things that I've learned as being part of this team is just how much love and passion goes into all of it. We have people all over the place. We have cameras all over the place, and it's a lot for a small operation to manage, but you do it quite well, Das.
It's a lot of fun. Like I've got 2 dedicated monitors that have our live feeds coming in, and they're both 4x4. So I've got 16 cameras times 2 for broadcast feeds, and we have more cameras. We actually have some engineering style cameras as well to keep eyes on our equipment over there. But we have an awful lot of feeds. We made a lot of this stuff up ourselves. Like we've worked out how to put it together. Most of us aren't like, oh, we came from broadcast backgrounds and stuff. I used to be a Twitch streamer, and I just loved rockets, and I wanted to share it with people, right? I just came up with all sorts of cool consumer technologies we could use to share these experiences with folks that can't be there themselves. So our 24/7 streams are really cool. I don't. I sleep well at night. I go to sleep. They've been reliably running for years now. Every now and then there's a weird hiccup. But on the whole, we don't have to worry too much about them. Worry about cloud cover like this, because a lot of our Starbase sites are off the grid, and they're totally solar powered. And when we get multiple days of rain, sometimes the power levels start to need managing. And so we can log in remotely, and we can tell them to shut down certain cameras and certain systems to conserve power until the sun comes, blah, blah, blah. We can run out there with a generator and plug a generator into the auxiliary power and charge the batteries off of a generator. Those things we do look at the weather on occasion, but anyways.
It's a lot like managing spacecraft.
We do. We have like remote management, teleoperation. Most of our cameras, you don't need anybody there to actually operate them. We've got teams of people that sort of work in shifts, and they have access to log in and point the cameras. Oh, there's a booster going down the road. We better point a camera at it, right? They're rolling Psyche out. They're putting Psyche vertical on the pad before the launch. We have that right here off this camera that was zoomed in a little bit more at the Cape. But anyways, let me read a couple of super chats that came in, Lon, real quick.
Sure.
SpaceX Sammy did a super chat. Says, stay live till Starship launch. Yeah, okay.
Okay. We'll need more coffee for that one.
I mean, honestly, Starbase Live will stay live until Starship launches. So sure, wish granted, SpaceX Sammy. We got
delivered.
Kai got some merch from the store, getting some long sleeve shirts for work. So glad we can dress casual in comfortable, good-looking clothes. Kai, thank you for the support from the shop. Musical Ducks.
You can't see me right now, but I'm sporting my NSF baseball cap.
Nice. Do you still have the shirt you stole from me?
I did, yes. I washed it. You want it back?
Shirt. No, I don't want it. I'm fine. You can keep it. I got home and I'm like, oh, I need to record a video. Let me grab my NSF logo polo shirt, and I went to grab it and I realized that you have it. So it's yours now,
I was schwitzing in it the whole the whole week we were down there. So I was like, I better wash this before I give it back to him. So, and actually, that's been my lucky shirt now. So every one of our Starship shows, I've been wearing your shirt. So it's
nice.
It's served us well so far.
We do have the 24-hour streams that constantly go. 3 different 24 streams. We stream what? 24 times 3 would be 72 hours a day, I guess. We are going to lose a couple cameras. We need our folks. Look, you can see the rain in the background, Lon. You see the rain falling. We need to get our folks off the roof, so we need our folks to pack up the camera gear.
Yes, we don't
We'll
want
get off
any harm to our crew or the cameras. We need those again. For sure. And this is, I think, Das, a really good example of why these long-term weather reports for rocket launches are certainly different, perhaps, than what you might plan a picnic around, right? Because it was perfect for this launch.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just less than an hour later, I can see rain squalls on our camera there.
Yeah, look at that. Off in the background now, but let's get all the camera equipment. We have some weatherproof cameras for the 24/7 streams that stay out there, but we want to get our nicer broadcast equipment in before that rain gets over this way. Did I miss anything? Travis Cecil said, "Who's and moos are good luck charms." Y'all, look, I'll say it one more time. We would not be able to do this without y'all's support. You don't have to financially do it. You don't have to buy merch from the shop. You don't have to do super chats. You don't even have to be a part of the member program. Just being here, being a part of these experiences with us, watching in chat, talking with other people on the 24/7 streams or here on the dedicated streams. Just being a part of this is a fantastic way to support what we do. So across the board, whether you did a $100 tip today or whether you are just here as a viewer and you learned something, everybody's a part of the community. We really appreciate y'all making this possible. I won't rub it in too much, Lon, but I have to say that we just appreciate everybody, however they're involved in the spaceflight community.
Well, it is a community, and that's what's great about it is that we're part. Our visuals are part of the community, but the community is the community, and whether you watch or contribute, it doesn't matter as long as you are part of the community. We grow together. That's how it works. And just like rockets, we go together, we grow together. So it's amazing too when you look at the fact that Psyche is now currently way off the coast of Africa. And it just launched from Florida less than an hour ago. It just gives you a sense of how much speed these rockets can deliver payloads at.
Yep.
So we are about 4 minutes away from that second burn. And after that, at 56 minutes and change, is when that burn shuts down. And hopefully there's a good orbit.
Yep.
First of many orbits that the spacecraft will experience.
Lon, if you
looks
if you
like
can read some chat and stuff for me, I'm need to hop off for a second to help with a technical thing, if you don't mind.
Certainly, I will do so. And it looks like also the MVAC engine chill has started for the relight. And I think Hagen, we'll stay through at least through the burn, and we'll see what kind of information we can get on the deploy if we can get a good image of that.
Copy that.
So hopefully you're dry now with the rain coming in over there. So.
Yeah, well, I've been back inside the hut for a bit now, cooling down and just sort of chilling out after that amazing launch. But I know Max and Sawyer were both just running around outside, scrambling to make sure everything they can get everything. Sawyer's nodding his head at me that is indeed what they were doing. So, yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, so you've all been out there pretty early there. And what's amazing when we talk about speed here, again, this launched about 51 and a half minutes ago, and we're about halfway to Australia at this point. So it's moving pretty quick here. So we are going to get some imagery in and out through the Australian ground station because it looks like we'll probably be lighting up off the coast of Australia. So we'll keep an eye on that. So stay tuned, everybody. And I will put up some super chats here. Gunfox61, who contributed 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you very much for that. We have a couple of, I have a lot. We have so many supporters here today and a lot of milestones too. So Nick says, I know Ryan Caton went to Florida. Is he on the stream? He's not on the stream, but I've seen him in our back channel there. And I think he had a very enthusiastic response to not only the launch, but the landing as well. So that was great to see there. And we are just under about a minute and a half here before the 54-minute relight of the engine. And we can see there are some frosty bits appearing on that engine as it gets chilled ahead of its relight there. And this clearly, Hagen, is a moment where the team is going to be nervous yet again, right?
Yeah, I mean, with any burn,
happen,
obviously,
right?
yeah, obviously there's some level of risk at all times with this, but definitely during these burns, you really want to make sure that whenever the engine lights up, first that it actually lights up properly, but then also you want to make sure that it burns for the correct amount of time, so that Psyche is on the proper trajectory out into that heliocentric orbit, and that they put it on a trajectory to first intercept Mars in 2026. They can perform that gravity assist and to then reach Psyche.
All right. Well, we are now looking at a little bit of venting here, maybe some thruster movement, so the cameras are getting a little foggy there. But we are about 30 seconds away now from that burn, and that's going to be a 2-minute burn, a relight of the second stage engine, and that will put it into the proper trajectory here. There's a lot of precision here, Hagen, isn't there? Everything is precise here to the second.
Yes, and I mean you have to be, especially with Psyche.
There goes some ice.
You know, Psyche is, you know, relative to everything else, Psyche is minuscule, like itty bitty tiny, and so and it's trying to. Oh, there we go.
There we go. And I don't know if you saw that, but some of that ice just bounced off and got got rapidly melted. But there we go. This burn needs to go for 2 minutes. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, you're good. What I was saying is, yeah, they have to be precise because you're trying to fling a spacecraft, which relative to everything else is minuscule, out to an object that relative to all the other objects in our solar system is also minuscule. So to be able to precisely, you know, ensure that it reaches 16 Psyche and that it's at a, you know, low enough speed so that it can fire its engines and enter orbit around it. You know, there's a lot that goes into that, and in order for that to all work, you have to be precise.
And we are seeing that engine burn now. And the reason why we were seeing the Earth earlier and things look lighter was because we were out in the day essentially, but we've now orbited to the night side of the planet right now, our planet of Earth, which is why things look a lot darker here. But that engine is glowing red hot there, which is normal. And it looks so far that this burn is proceeding as planned. So we're going to burn again for about another minute and a half. And then following that burn, I'm sure they'll do some final checkouts, and then they have to detach, Hagen, right?
Talking while muted. Yeah, they'll have to do that. They'll whenever after this burn stops, they'll coast for around 6-ish minutes, and then they're gonna separate Psyche from that upper stage, and Psyche will be on its way.
And Psyche has its own fuel. This is one of those ion engines, right?
Yeah, it's a Hall effect ion engine. So it's taking, you know, the energy and the electricity produced by the solar panels on the spacecraft and converting that into usable thrust in that engine. So yeah, really neat. This will be the first time that a Hall effect ion thrusters are used outside of lunar orbit. So yeah, really neat stuff.
And really, those thrusters are kind of maneuvering it into different orbits because they certainly don't have the power to just go direct. So we are.
Oh yes,
we'll be. It's really going from a Earth orbit to a Sun orbit to a Mars orbit. Is that? Am I getting that right? It could be wrong. It's okay.
Yeah. So what we're doing here is that this burn right here, just that you can see, is now complete.
And it's, by the way, nominal payload deployment orbit confirmed. That's a good sign.
Awesome. Yeah. And so that was the escape burn. So what that has done is that just then, before the burn, Psyche and Falcon Heavy second stage were in orbit around Earth, and by doing that burn right there, they've increased their velocity to a point where it's great that they can escape the gravity of the Earth-Moon system. And so they're currently on their way out into a heliocentric orbit. So whenever they exit the Earth-Moon system, they will be in a heliocentric orbit around the sun. And then that orbit, Psyche's going to continue going around in that orbit. And then in 2026, that orbit and Mars will line up, and Psyche will fly by Mars. In doing so, increase its velocity even more to a point where its trajectory will have it fly by 16 Psyche, the asteroid. And then whenever it gets to 16 Psyche, it's going to have to insert itself into that orbit. If you remember earlier, I talked about those different orbits that the spacecraft is going to be in. Those orbits are labeled A, B, C, and D, and it's going to enter that first orbit, orbit A, whenever it first reaches the asteroid in August 2029.
And I'm seeing a lot of happy and relieved faces at JPL. So it looks like, as we've been saying, the heavy lifting is now totally complete. The only milestone left before this multi-year mission begins is separation from that second stage. That Falcon Heavy just boosted into orbit right in front of your eyes there, Hagen. So that's
I wonder what the conductor on the right-hand side, like facing everybody else. I wonder what that person's task is. Like, I expect he's gonna like cue in the flutes shortly or something.
That's funny. Yeah, no, it looks like he's like. Do you look to him? Maybe he's the guy you look at to know if you should be worried about something. I don't know.
Right. That's interesting. I wonder.
It is.
I'd like to know why that person is facing everybody else, and I imagine there's screens or something behind him.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing him before in prior, or somebody in that spot in prior missions, but maybe we didn't see this angle earlier. I wonder if maybe he's like the director, the mission director here. Oh, looks like he's stepping away.
He left. His ears were burning. He knew we were talking.
His ears are burning. Wait, you get off the camera. Those guys are
trying
to figure out what you're doing. Yeah. I love how the JPL team always gets into the spirit. They got their swag on.
Hey, at JPL, they like to tell you about it. There's a thing in the middle of the floor of the room next to this, right? And it says the center of the universe. They're like, their mission control is the center of the universe because that's where all of our interplanetary missions would talk back to. And there's literally a plaque on the middle of the floor in the middle of the main control room that says that.
And we are just probably a minute or two away, if not sooner, to deployment, which it looks like we may be able to see.
Yeah, hopefully we get live feed of that. I like this, Francis Chin. He's no longer a conductor. He was too resistant.
A couple minutes away from deployment.
You can see it on the graph here. Like, you can see it in the trajectory, how it did that other burn, and that other burn has had it literally break Earth orbit. It hasn't left the influence of Earth yet, but it's a straight line going away from the planet now. Yeah, exactly.
Right. There's no turning back now. It's going.
Yep.
That's awesome.
That's going to be... I'm going to guess that this camera is on the second stage looking up at the spacecraft. Got some dead pixels and stuff there, but hopefully we continue that feed. It's
I'm guessing the second stage just kind of goes in that direction too. Are they going to try to orbit this like they do their other ones, or is it just going to go?
This one is just going to go off to, if I'm not mistaken, a heliocentric graveyard orbit. Hagen can correct me if I'm not correct there. But it's on its way. I mean, it would be a lot of extra fuel to stop that extra energy, the extra velocity it got there to send Psyche on its way away from Earth. So this one's just going to sort of tumble around through space.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hope this feed shows the spacecraft go. Got hiccups.
Always amazing
Me
to see
too.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people have worked many years for this moment where their spacecraft can finally operate on its own.
Hagen, we got to get you to say, how many unfolds are there in this one? Is it like 2 unfolds to go? Instead of 343, at least it's not James Webb.
Yeah, right.
There are not 345 unfolds involved with the deployment of Psyche. Thankfully, I cannot go through the James Webb commissioning situation again.
Oh boy,
I mean,
it'll be like
talk about nerve-wracking.
Yeah, Elon.
You think how hard it is for us just to keep our cameras going. Imagine what they go through there.
Yeah, and you can't send somebody to fix it either. Like, it either
No,
works
that's
or
right.
it doesn't. Like, this is not, oh well, we'll send Max over there tomorrow to try and get the thing that's bumping the microphone, like clean up the little loose flag tab that's flapping against the microphone. Nope, it's in space. It's on its way.
Well, knowing Max, if we had a way to get him into space to fix something, he would totally do it.
He would like the going to space part. That's for sure. We'd have to put him through some training on the fixing part.
Yeah.
I think he'd go up there and start taking pictures of everything in space, and he'd beam down fantastic pictures. And it'd be like, hey, that piece of tape is still flapping on the microphone. We love Max out there.
We do. We do this out of love, Max. And all we're waiting on now is just confirmation of deployment. It looks like we got a frozen image from space. This is, there it goes, it's back. Actually, those dead pixels help us to know we're getting a feed.
Yeah, over on the left-hand side, you get something moving. I'm not exactly sure what's causing that, but...
Right. And Alex is pointing out you can actually see some of the stars here, too.
I wonder if those are stars or if those are camera pixels, because they don't seem to be moving relative to the screen at all.
Yeah.
There are things blinking versus the ones that are... Oh, look!
There we go. Successful deployment.
Oh my goodness.
That is awesome.
Look
That's
at that.
Off to deep space.
Not a
just
lot of
coasts away.
rotation at all happening there. It looks
No.
like we got some catch up on the frames there. It happens. It's tough to do to send the video from Boca Chica Beach, much less
Right.
space. But look at that.
Look at that. Hagen, that's a good sign that it's not. They were concerned about a little rotation, perhaps they'd have to correct, but it looks like it's not rotating.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well,
Well
it looks
then.
like we have seen this through.
That's what we were waiting on.
Yep. And I think we can say the mission is now on its way and a successful launch. So for us U.S. taxpayers, we got our money's worth out of this one,
Nice.
and the world will get some additional knowledge about potentially the planetary cores and other things about our solar neighborhood that we
You
don't
got
know
it.
about.
A journey
Pretty
to a
cool.
metal world. It's we think we know some things. We have some good guesses, but they're sending Psyche on its way to do science. It's literally how science works. Don't ever look at the scientist and be like, "Oh, what do you mean you don't know?" Like the entire point is that science learns new things. It figures out things. Science is about asking the questions and then coming up with the ways to find the answers to the questions. So hopefully we get a ton of new scientific data from the Psyche spacecraft on its mission to the Psyche asteroid, 16 Psyche out there. We need to do more things like this. I wish we could have just order a bulk pack. Like, yeah, we'll take a 6-craft, a Psyche spacecraft, and just send them all to
Yeah,
different
send 'em all.
asteroids. I'd love
Right.
it. Hopefully one day it gets to that, where we can buy.
Think about that
several
opening
people.
scene of The Empire Strikes Back, where they're just firing off probes left and right.
Firing off
Like that's
probes
what
left
we
and
need.
right. I want to
Yep.
see like a convoy of probes delivered to the Space Coast. It's like, yep, there's the next 6 asteroid probe launches. Like, imagine the economy of scale, I guess you could have, right? So,
Exactly.
anyways, I think it's time for us
All
to
right.
start spooling down, Lon. What do you think?
I think so. I think we saw this one all the way through to the end. We've had great imagery throughout. We had an awesome launch. And Hagen, you were great in giving us a lot of detail on this mission and what we should expect not only in the next couple of years, but in the short term as well. So anything you want to say as we wrap things up here, Hagen? I know you're pretty excited to see this on its way.
Excited is an understatement. This mission is going to be so important for planetary science and understanding, not just planets in general, but Earth and such. And I'm thrilled that it's on its way. A massive congratulations to the SpaceX teams, to everybody at JPL, the Psyche teams, ASU. Yeah, I know they've got a lot of work to do, but this is a massive step toward getting this mission off the ground and going.
Absolutely. So thanks again for everything. Das, any final words? I think we're doing something tomorrow. I don't know if we want to plug this one just yet, but the Eclipse thing, is that we're still doing that?
There may be a launch tonight. I don't know. I haven't seen the update, but there was a Starlink that was standing by for this evening. Now that Psyche is quite literally out of the way,
Right.
We'll see
Could be
if
a
that
SpaceX
goes or not.
doubleheader.
It could. It very well could be. Tomorrow we'll be covering the annular eclipse. We've got a couple different cameras set out, especially down there at Starbase. Brownsville is going to be just under the 90% coverage band, and we plan to try and frame the eclipse with some interesting Starship equipment in the foreground. We'll be doing that live stream tomorrow morning. And we also have a museum show coming up on Sunday. We'll be talking with some astronomy folks about access to astronomy. It's really interesting ways that we can communicate data in different ways that different people can experience. Have you seen the thing where it's like, oh, here's the frequencies and we're listening to them instead of looking at them on a graph? Increasing the accessibility to astronomy data will be with the Intrepid Museum on Sunday as part of Astro Live. So have a full schedule coming up this weekend, Lon.
Should be fun. And I'll be doing the Eclipse hosting, although I won't be getting eclipsed myself. I will be living vicariously through Sean and Jack in the field along with our robots. So it'll be a fun stream. No launch, but it's kind of fun when the moon kind of goes in front of the sun. So we're going to cover that. It's going to be fun. Then next year, there's even a bigger one, which will be happening throughout the United States that we'll have to come back and do that one too. So good stuff. Well, if you are looking to get notified of all this stuff, that notification bell is one of the best ways to do it. But you can also visit us at NASASpaceflight.com. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, as us YouTubers like to say, and hit those like buttons and all the other stuff. But the notification bell will let you know when we go live. We're pretty good at scheduling things, so you know when we will appear. And shop.nasaspaceflight.com for all of your space shopping needs is a great place to check out to get all the space gear you need for an upcoming mission. And you get some really cool stuff over there. So that will do it for today's stream. Das, a pleasure co-hosting with you. Hagen, thank you very much for all that you've done out in the field. And a big thank you to everyone else here at NSF for giving the viewers such a great experience from start to finish here. And also want to thank Patrick, who is running the back end for us today as well. So that will do it for this one. Thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, this is Lon, Das, and Hagen signing off.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water towers fly! Echo down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Say again, FD off. Off. It's orange!
R45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? Sure. We don't need any more of these.